scale, because it's easier to solve the problem at scale than acting fragmented. And of course, beyond then we need government to be more of a facilitator to bring ecosystem players together, ensure that incentives are well aligned for all players to play. And those ecosystem players will include service providers like input suppliers, from mechanization to fertilizer to seed, then to financiers, financial institutions where I sit. For example, we have funds, and then we provide loans to trade finance loans to commodity exporters, and we finance a number of companies in Nigeria. So you bring financiers together also that way, and then you bring companies that want to scale agriculture, want to invest in the sector. You bring them together and you align incentives for everybody. But we need to start doing things at scale. We need to collaborate, because to really solve the problem, we need to have like an integrated systems approach so that we can truly handle the problem from farm to table. I mean, it's a broad question. Like I said, agribusiness is a complex system. So I can't prescribe one or two, three actionable steps. The first is different players need to understand what their role is. And government needs to use their power in the most effective way. That's the first. So what's the best way for them to use their power? I think that is to bring players to the table, align incentives for all of them, and then ensure that it's implemented. So you bring farmers, you bring commercial investors, you bring financiers, you bring input suppliers, and then you find the right incentives, the right partners, development partners, and you ensure that that is implemented, right? That's one, but it's a complex problem. So there's so many. There'll probably be a list of 100 things to be done, but the fact is, we can't solve the problem the way we are right now because we're fragmented. Most of the things we have is wasting. So we need a systems approach. In that systems approach, government's role is to facilitate, bring every important stakeholder to the table. And the third is we then need to, all of those players need to take their part as financiers and investors, as service providers, as agriculture and agribusiness companies, and solve their own part of the problem.
For us, starting with especially when we talk about cluster, especially for agriculture, we are ensuring that our rice farmers are in clusters. So right now, we have in Lagos a cluster of farms of about 1,000 hectares that is going to go into rice cultivation. We have 500 in Igua, which is in Ogun State. So we're having a cluster of farmers so that we can leverage on technology. Particularly, we're in talk with the drone producers for agro input production, so that we can reduce the cost of production and invariably the cost of output. Yes, there's tractor on the go, and particularly again for the rice farmers, we're actually making provisions for technology to serve them and input to serve them in their clusters that we have created. There are
Good morning and welcome to the Bdtv Breakfast Show. My name is Elizabeth Musa and it's a pleasure to have you start your Friday morning with us today. Let's see what's making the headlines this morning. Nigeria clears off $3.4 billion IMF loan. Senate passes remaining tax reform bills. Afrexim Bank unveils $1 billion Africa Film Fund. American Robert Francis emerges as new pope. Beckham and Neville complete Salford City takeover. Well, let's begin the news in Nigeria, where the country has completed the payment of a $3.4 billion loan borrowed from the International Monetary Fund during the COVID-19 pandemic. According to reports, this has cleared Nigeria from the debtor list of the multilateral bank. Data sourced from the website of the Washington-based lender shows that Nigeria has paid off its owings after being omitted from the listed debtors in the report. Well, moving on, the Nigerian Senate has completed the legislative work on 4 key tax reform bills proposed by President Bola Tinubu, passing the remaining 2 bills. The Senate passed the Nigeria Tax Bill 2024 and the Joint Revenue Board Establishment Bill during plenary on Thursday. With the passage of all 4 bills, the next step involves harmonization between the Senate and the House of Representatives through a conference committee, after which the unified versions will be sent to President Tinubu for signing into law. Still on, the African Export-Import Bank has unveiled a $1 billion Africa Film Fund to revolutionize the continent's film and creative industry. This was announced on Wednesday in an official statement posted on the bank's Instagram page. The fund, launched under the Creative Africa Nexus program, aims to support the production and global distribution of African films and television content, addressing key infrastructure and financing challenges that have been stifled growth in the sector. According to the bank, the Africa Film Fund will be managed through FEDA as a private equity vehicle, offering long-term capital to enable the creation of high-quality content and empower African storytellers to compete globally. Also in the local news, Senate President Godswill Akpabio has petitioned the Federal High Court in Abuja to compel suspended Kogi Central Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan to delete a satirical apology she posted on her social media pages. On April 27, Akpoti-Uduaghan shared a short video in which she mockingly apologized to Akpabio, claiming it was for not allowing him to have his way with her. This led to Akpoti initiating a suit that sought to stop the Senate from investigating her for alleged misconduct. The senator has, however, asked the courts to prevent the Senate Committee on Ethics, Privileges and Public Petitions, chaired by Senator Neda Imaswan, from taking any disciplinary action against her. And on the foreign scene, Robert Francis Prevost has become the first pope from the United States on Thursday, picking the papal name Leo XIV after cardinals from around the world elected him leader of the world's 1.4 billion Catholics. Tens of thousands of people packed in St. Peter's Square, cheered as Prevost appeared on the balcony of St. Peter's Basilica, waving with both hands, smiling and bowing. White smoke from the Sistine Chapel had billowed into the sky on the Cardinal's second day of voting to announce his election in a secret conclave, while the bells of St. Peter's Basilica and churches across Rome rang out. Also, Microsoft founder Bill Gates has revealed that he intends to give away 99% of his vast fortune over the next 20 years. Gates says he would accelerate his giving through his foundation, with plans to end its operations in 2045. The 69-year-old billionaire says his eponymous foundation has already given out $100 billion towards health and development projects, expecting it will spend another $200 billion depending on markets and inflation over the next 2 decades. And now to sports, David Beckham and Gary Neville have completed a takeover of Salford City as part of a new consortium, buying out the rest of the class of '92. Their former Manchester United teammates Nicky Butt, Ryan Giggs, Paul Scholes and Phil Neville are no longer shareholders as part of the new ownership group, including former banker Lord Mervyn Davies and businessman Declan Kelly. According to reports, the quartets will remain involved with the club in roles across technical, football, commercial, recruitment and the SCFC Foundation. After the class of '92's arrival at the club in 2014, Salford won 4 promotions in 5 seasons to reach the English Football League in 2019, but have remained in League 2 over time. Now to end the news, the Nigeria Premier Football League has announced plans to sanction coaches who boycott post-match interviews. Chairman of the NPFL, Gbenga Elegbeleye, revealed this during an interaction with match commissioners. Elegbeleye says coaches who fail to adhere strictly to the directive will be fined. Well, that does it this morning on the Bdtv Breakfast News. My name is Elizabeth Musa. Up next is the newspaper review. Do stay with us.
Good morning and welcome to the Bdtv Breakfast Show. I am Bethel Obitabi.
My name is Elizabeth Musa.
And this is the social listening segment on the Bdtv Breakfast Show.
We're talking about the Fly Nigeria Act. Can you give us a background into what this is about?
We are here today on the streets of Lagos, Nigeria, to gather opinion about a pressing issue.
I go look at the cost of petrol. We get very Nigeria with the suffer.
The income is not really increasing, but the prices of items are increased. Nothing like savings again. No. You only pray for that money to reach you that month.
There's a lot of high pressure, a lot of stress. There's a lot of high targets to be met.
I was quite strict. In my mind, I said, moving from my hand, my picking go spoil.
To allow all banks and all the players in the space.
15% inflation target achievable in 2025.
The command and vision philosophy of both the Chief of Defense Staff, the Chief of Army Staff, and indeed all the service chiefs.
I am, of course, a great admirer of the impeccable credibility, professionalism, and business savviness of businessmen. If you really mean business in Nigeria, start your day with businessmen.
Business Day is West Africa's leading provider of business intelligence and information, delivering premium content across diversified media platforms, including online, mobile, and print. Since its inception in 2001 with a weekly newspaper production, Business Day has expanded its reach to provide exclusive content accessible through print, mobile, and online channels. Our premium offerings are further enriched with syndicated content from esteemed sources like the Financial Times, The Economist, and the Harvard Business Review. At Business Day, our mission is clear: to be the foremost provider of business and financial content, empowering readers to make informed decisions in Nigeria and Africa. Since our establishment, we have been committed to delivering insightful, relevant, and accurate information about Nigeria's business and finance environment, while contextualizing the impact of global events. We monitor the stock market, analyze the companies driving it, and report on government policies and their economic implications.
For being consistent in organizing these CEO forums for almost the last 14 years, I think this was a commendation, and I think something that will encourage them to continue.
From decoding market trends to dissecting economic shifts, we offer actionable investment ideas and serve as a compass for decision-makers navigating complexity. Beyond headlines, Business Day fosters discussions on critical economic issues through impactful conferences and events. These platforms bring industry leaders together to share narratives that drive innovation and spark meaningful dialogues. Our events galvanize connections, bridging the gap between inspiration and achievement. For businesses seeking visibility, our strong digital presence offers unparalleled opportunities, with millions of followers across social media and a dynamic website attracting visitors from within and outside Nigeria. Business Day is the ideal platform to boost visibility for your products and services. If you're looking for in-depth analysis and expert opinions on Nigeria and Africa's business landscape, Business Day is your guide.
this conference is catered to addressing the housing deficit and helping us to seize some of the opportunities that we have present.
Business Day Media Limited held its annual property investment conference, Pre-Invest, on the 14th of March. The conference brought together stakeholders, investors, policymakers, and innovators to unlock Nigeria's $900 billion real estate market and address the opportunities, challenges, growth, and future of the industry. This year's edition is themed The Future of Real Estate, harnessing demographics, urbanization, and opportunities amid economic shift. Business Day's publisher, Frank Ibohun, delivered a notable welcome address, emphasizing that the real estate sector is no longer just evolving, but redefining the future of Nigeria's non-oil economy.
The real estate sector is not defined by just the data, the GDP data that we talk about or that we hear about. The real estate sector is more crucial, more vital than any data can suggest. Following a recent gross domestic product rebasing by the National Bureau of Statistics, your sector was adjudged to have surpassed the energy sector, the oil and gas sector, to become the third contributor to economic development in Nigeria.
According to PwC 2024 report, the real estate is now one of Africa's most dynamic sectors, with a market value projected to exceed $900 billion by 2030.
The influx of unqualified practitioners is a major challenge confronting the real estate industry within Nigeria and especially in Lagos State. And this has negatively impacted the sector's credibility and growth. With Lagos State being a reflection of Nigeria's urbanization and also one of the fastest growing urban areas in the world economically, the increasing demand for residential, commercial, and industrial properties has given rise to fraudulent practices such as multiple allocations of the same property to different tenants, inflated rent prices, and substandard construction projects. These issues not only discourage investors, but also pose a serious threat to public trust and investor confidence as key elements of property investment in the sector. In Lagos State, we are committed to transforming the real estate industry. As we continue to regulate and professionalize the sector, I urge all stakeholders, investors, developers, and real estate professionals to advocate for ethical practices and also register with the Lagos State Real Estate Regulatory Authority to enhance regulation and credibility, as well as foster an environment where real estate investments can thrive safely and sustainably.
The conference captured various solid panel sessions with reputable industry giants.
Government does not have lands anymore. And this has brought creative things. What is our JVs that we do? We partner with families who have family lands but don't have the means to develop it. And we share the apartments. When I say land is not available, I'm talking about vacant land. Lands are occupied. And we have a major regeneration agenda for Lagos State.
We also got a chance to speak to some of the speakers and they shared their submissions.
One of the key issues with housing is just the cost. The cost of construction is high. The cost of financing is high. The interest rates from our financial institutions are high, and all that adds to the problem of affordability. So in order to resolve that problem, there needs to be policies in place to, number one, address the issue of high cost of building materials. So import substitution, local production and development of the value chain materials will bring down the cost.
Fortunately, in Nigeria, capturing data is, an ordeal, but that is the only thing that is going to actually allow us to understand where we're going as a nation, as an industry, as a market, and capturing that data, whether you're talking about the private sector and individually as real estate companies capturing data in a CRM, or the government capturing data from a survey perspective. Data is the only trend that we need to know about to be able to capture the opportunity that's currently wide open in the market.
99.9% of houses and properties that I see being built disobey the fundamental laws of building. There isn't the infrastructure or the manpower to regulate all these buildings. If I am going to build and invest my money in building, I will pay for the consultants. I will let them do their work and I will listen to them. But then maybe because I am educated and myself, I am a consultant, I cannot tell you the number of people who will not pay for consultancy. And I sit and I listen and I watch them. Most builders now, if you say to them, did you put in a dam-proof course? They don't even know what it means. Meanwhile, we have rising damp. We are a city that is, barely a foot above sea level. So the fault isn't the government. There's enough legislation with the government, and anybody who wants to do the right thing can do the right thing without waiting for government to come and enforce the right thing.
Construction is not an easy job. You have to be competent when you are doing it. If you don't have the competence, employ the competent hand, the project manager, the cost adjuster, the cost people, the country surveyors, the engineers. They must be properly in place. When they are in place, then you get your housing off ground quickly.
The conference was able to capture some of the major challenges that the real estate sector currently faces, with solutions suggested by the speakers present. Attendees also had opportunities to get answers to their questions. Since inception, the Business Day Property Investment Conference, PRINVEST, has become a crucial tool for insightful deliberations on the future of Nigerian real estate industry, and the organizers remain unrelenting in making sure that the conference continues to address the needs of the masses.
We live in a world of artificial intelligence. Things are a bit much easier now for us. It might be tough for us to go back to already established talents to track them. But with the new ones here, that's why you see our fintech and all of them flourishing. We just need to tap into that technology of AI, and it will help out. It's there already, you get, and it will help keep data. Data is the new currency. And once you have data, why some of the scouts abroad are a bit wary of touching some of our talents is because there's no data. You understand? So they're just going with your word. Yes, it's a talent, we see that, but we would like to see his data because it helps us also, and I'm talking as a European or someone from the abroad, as we like to say. It helps them to say, at this age to this age, these were some of the traits we saw. So that gives us an idea that if we put this through, we know what the outcome will look like. Because now we live in a world where you can determine outcomes. So for all of that to happen, I think we need to start taking our data very seriously. I don't know if people are willing to invest in that. That is another question again to ask. If we want to build talent, you have to be able to track this talent no matter where they are. Somebody must be able to be anywhere in Afghanistan, and you can get on an app and track whatever talent you want to track, and you can see the progress over time. So I think therein lies the dilemma we are in. Question is, are they ready to make that investment into that technology and see that they can mine data for athletes and talents, and you have this data, you can take them anywhere in the world. You have something to say, this is what their progression looks like. It's not much of a media thing per se. It's much of the administrators of the sports. You do not feel, oh, because we're in sports, media must come. You must understand that at the very core of sports is media. If your event is not being covered, you're just having fun. You are no different from somebody who's playing street football somewhere with his friends. You're just having fun. If you understand that as an administrator, now remember, the whole idea of the media is to document your events and your programs and all of the things you're doing. So there's an archive. Remember, you're not going to be there all your life. You're going to leave that seat. Someone else is going to step in. There's something they can work with. They can look at this and say, okay, this was what was done. This is the next level we need to take it into. So the issue is not media as in media. The issue is the owners of the sports. What's their drive? Where is their vision? Where are they headed? What they want to do? And that determines how they need to showcase it. So it's theirs. Media should be at every core of every sport, not necessarily a football thing. Football is football, and it would always be football. There's some great football tournament that you don't even hear of because it's not covered. So every sport must take its media arm very seriously. Social media is such a powerful platform now that you as a sport needs to look at what makes us unique, what makes us stand out, and start to tell your own story. Tell your own story in your own unique way. You don't need to have some crazy camera, expensive. No, just have a good phone. You understand? Record it creatively. Edit. You can edit on your phone now. There are apps that can help you edit easily. Edit it and start. You don't need to buy social media space. You don't need to buy Instagram. You're not paying for it. You don't need to buy TikTok. You're not paying for it. And right there, start telling your story. We're seeing people who have gone viral and have had input, not even from different people, even from people you have no idea of. Just because they heard your story, loved your story, and they say, you know what, I want to partner with you on this one. Once you start doing that, you like it or not, mainstream media will actually, okay, we heard something is going on. They want to be part of it also. So it's all down to the sports itself. I'm quite excited. I accepted to come. I think Business Day is onto something. I don't know what it is, but in my spirit, I feel it. That I feel a sense of optimism. Because there's a dark, and everybody was saying, oh, every time Wall is reporting the, negativity, because there's a lot of it. There's just too much of it. Can't we just talk on one positivity? It's nice, but there's 200 negativities. So even if you want to push out it's just hard. I'm very positive. I always look at the cup half full. In fact, I don't look at the cup half full. I look at the fact that there's at least water in the cup to start with. You understand? Half full or not. So I feel very strongly that with what has been kickstarted here, it's the first time Business Day is, having this event. I'm sure some of the speakers who couldn't make it will see the outcome of this and regret that they didn't make it. And they will be the ones calling, when is the next one? This is early year. You can do it twice a year. You can even do it 3 times a year. Business Day, be ready for that. And people will want to be a part of this. And maybe by the time we tend to put our heads together, remember, 2 good heads, not 2 heads. 2 good heads. Always better than 1. By the time we put it together, we know the problem of our sports. We know what the problems are. We just need the testicular fortitude. For those who know, they know. The testicular fortitude to face it head on and deal with it decisively. It's simple. It's really, really simple. As long as we make up our mind that, nobody should be benefiting from the decadence and the despair of the ecosystem called sports. As long as we agree on that and everybody takes it seriously, everybody will enjoy at the end of the day because we're going to build a thriving ecosystem. And somebody can say in Harvard, let's take a look at Nigeria's sporting system. I mean, this was a system that was generating, $200. But today, it's a $200 billion, system. That's a joy to us. That brings pride to us. And everybody, even our unborn children, will benefit from it.
All right, so, what he said is that the government should actually answer, from sports business. There's sports, and then there's the business of sports. So the government should actually be actively involved in sports. But the business of sports, he thinks, that the government, should actually, hands off, from it. And being in government for like 6 years now, I also agree That's, and that's why I said that the government has no business doing business. But, the responsibility of the government is to ensure that they create an enabling environment for businesses to thrive. And, I believe so strongly that, when they do this, we'll definitely, reap, better, rewards, from, the engagement, of sports, especially, with, the private, entities. Because, with them, there's more sustainability. With them, there's more, organization. With them, there's more, consistency in the running and the affairs of things. For a government, soldier goes, soldier comes. There's a new government, 4 years today. It could be another government entirely the next 4 years. This one that, left, who was maybe, very interested in sports. Now, actually, the one coming might not, be interested in sports. So all the investment, every investment that has been made actually goes, south, just because of this new person doesn't have interest or feels that, oh, you know what, why are you talking about, sports when we have, agriculture, when we have agribusiness, when we have, commerce and all, not knowing that all these things, there is a place, for each, of these sectors,
Okay,
and
sir.
none is subservient over the other. Yeah, so intentionality. That's what we really need to do. Intentionality. If we want grassroots sports to actually grow, what do we need to do? We need to actually take sports and then also take the infrastructure of sports to the people. So that they have a platform that they can actually use to express this their talents. And how can there be expression of talent if you don't have like a warehouse that actually holds these people together, that actually help them to groom so that they can actually soar. So I feel that we should actually increase in the projects, the PPP project, the private public partnership projects in our various community. It's not what the government can do alone. So we have to bring in private investors, private entrepreneurs who will be able to see the need in that system, and the government will also ensure them the according security that will come with it, that when I put my money in this is the security I have. It's not that I put my money in so-so's administration, and by the time it comes to Tamedo's administration, my investment, they tell me that it's gone and it's nothing to so those are the things that I think that we should do. We should actually see it as a continuum, a business that should actually continue irrespective of which sheriff is in town.
So I think that everywhere in the world, is really the role of government to provide an enabling environment for businesses in all sectors to thrive. But because this event is about sports and the business of it, I think that to a large extent, the Lagos State government has been at the forefront, in facilitating the development of sports in Lagos. You could think of the accelerator program for, sportsmen in grassroots communities, and then some of the initiatives even discussed at the conference. But there's always room for improvement, and I can tell for a fact that under the leadership of the Honorable Commissioner, working under the governor, Governor Abajide Olusola Sanwo-Olu, I can tell that there's still a lot more, to be done. And I know that there are a number of projects and initiatives in the pipeline to ensure that some of the issues raised here today about the challenges that still exist in how we move sports from just being a recreational activity to now, a business, entity that could, entail a multi-billion investment and all of that are already in the pipeline. And I just think that as we have more of these conversations and we do follow-up strategy sessions on how to implement these things so that they don't just end up as panel discussions or as keynote addresses, I think that it could only get better from here. Okay, so like I mentioned, so there's what is called the Lagos State, Sport Accelerator Program for young people in grassroots communities. And the initiative is domiciled in the Lagos State Sports Commission. And the whole idea is just to see how, to enable sportsmen and, sportswomen, especially those in their prime in secondary school and those who are just approaching tertiary institutions, on how to really understand the business side of sports. And it also provides, an opportunity for key players in the sports business value chain to also come together, ideate and implement the future of sport. So what I mean is that for organizations, who are facilitating programs like the Lagos City Marathon, I mean, they were here at the conference and they shared their views. There's room for so many more of them to come in and complement what government is doing. To be honest with you, government will not be able to solve all the problems, but it's up to government, to provide the enabling environment. So, and I know that also beyond that, there's what is called, the Lagos State Sports Academy, for young people, also in grassroots communities, so that, as we look at those who have approached stardom, those who have made it now, we have others who are in the pipeline too, who are also getting trained and, accessing resources and other initiatives that they need to benefit from to also emerge.
The starting point is that it's good to protect your IP. It's good to protect your image rights. When you protect your image rights, then it puts you in a better pedestal. You then find out that you're able to even make more money for yourself. This is an area where most sportsmen have not updated their minds to. And given the advent of data privacy in Nigeria today, it's one area that individual sportsmen should begin to look at and invest in a lot. So IP rights, IP protection, it's key, and it's a new way to go going forward. Well, truth of the matter is that you can't really prevent contract breaches. What you can do is that you can actually have a robust contract that adequately protects your interests. And so my one advice is really for sportsmen and women to always carry, as you know that you need an agent, always carry a lawyer along and let that lawyer, review your contracts and make sure that those contracts adequately protect you. The things that you would not see as a layman, it's most likely that your lawyer will see those things and then let you know that X and Y clause should not be inserted in your contracts. But you find that most time because you don't want to pay a lawyer, you go it yourself. And it's when the chips are down, you then come running to a lawyer for protection. So government has no business in sports. The government's business is in creating infrastructure. So build stadia, create infrastructure, create opportunities, but don't be the ones managing or running sports. So all the clubs that the governments are running today, I think it's not proper, it's not nice. But it should allow pure professionals, pure businessmen, to come into the business space to make money from sports. Government should just create an enabling environment where all of these businessmen can thrive.
Sports is driven by media, storytelling. So what we are doing differently is that we are creating a distinct platform to sell the Nigerian sports, the Nigerian athletes to the world. So we are creating this platform to make sure that the small player in Ajegule, the small player in Jos can get the same visibility that any European player will get on the existing social media platform. And that's what Govia is here to achieve.
Okay.
On Govia, you can score your dream goal. So Govia means go through. So we have built Govia to help people score their dream goals.
All right.
I'm excited about this event because I'm able to meet key stakeholders that would help me achieve this dream. It's a burning desire in my heart, and it's one of the reasons why Govia came up as a sponsor for this. And we're happy that we did this with Business Day. We thank Business Day for this platform, and we look forward to more opportunities to talk more about the sports ecosystem and business opportunities.
All right.
Thank you
so much. Sir.
Coming here today, just meeting like minds for me, that's my biggest takeaway personally. But also being able to hear the issues we're all facing, like us being sports professionals, we all face the same issues. So being able to tackle it in one space, I think was really helpful. And also stumbling blocks for me, I've been facing in my day to day, just being able to meet people who could help solve it. That's my biggest takeaway from today's conference. Okay. Oh yeah, there's sports more than just holding it. I feel it's the follow-up that matters. It's one thing to host this type of events, but it's another thing to be proactive about the solutions we talked about. But yeah, sure, hosting this type of events is going to help. Just meeting like minds under one roof. Yeah, sure.
Please allow me to welcome you all to this policy roundtable organized by Business Day. We brought you all here today to spotlight the overlooked potential of tax incentives as catalysts for sustainable development.
Business Day Media hosted a policy intervention roundtable on harnessing tax incentives for growth in Nigeria's priority sectors. The conference united legal experts, tax authorities, policymakers, and industry leaders to discuss effective structuring and alignment of tax incentives with Nigeria's economic goals. The publisher of Business Day, Mr. Frank Ibogun, delivered a welcome address speaking to the theme of the occasion.
One thing that excites me about where we are is that this is the first time in Nigeria that we have had a national conversation around taxation. The very first time. You might say it's late, but as I say, better late than never.
As the event proceeded, the keynote address was delivered by Mr. Taiwo Uyedele, chairman of the Presidential Fiscal Policy and Tax Reforms Committee, who made emphasis on the tax reforms and spoke about the Economic Development Initiative Scheme.
You could count on one finger, fingertips of one hand, the issues that have been mostly debated. And I always like to remind people that we're talking about a transformative reform where we've taken more than 15 different tax laws and compressed them into 4. They have over 400 pages, more than 200 provisions. Many of them are new. So it's important that we pay attention to those very important changes because they will affect us. And the other point is there are loads of opportunities that will be presented by those changes. But you will not be able to take advantage of the opportunities if you are not prepared for them, or worse still, if you are not even aware of them.
The conference featured an informative panel session with an array of reputable speakers.
Looking at the bill as it is, it's quite simple. And, I was talking about the provisions of probably I've not read it very well, but, you will know the name of a child more than the man who has named the child. And so I would defer to Mr. Taiwo. But I've looked at the provisions of, or the provision of the tax bill in relation to that priority incentive. And I see a provision that says that it is subject to the provision, I think about section 58 that talks about the effective tax rate. But be that as it may, it is clear that no matter how stylish the legislators may have drafted a law, there will still be need for improvement. By the time this bill is being implemented, you will start seeing issues.
We have some incentives in our tax system today, like the reconstruction investment incentive was meant to be after the Civil War to reconstruct Nigeria. So we're not the most diligent lawmaking, policy formulating nation in the world. Once you discuss it and debate it, you can leave it for another. So we saw some of the things we saw was in the oil and gas sector, where we lost, and I mean literally billions of dollars, because somebody didn't know that oil price was going to hit $20 per barrel, $20 per barrel. And there was supposed to be a trigger of revision when it hits $20 per barrel. And oil hit 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80. We did nothing, absolutely nothing. We lost more than $10 billion. So we think that it's better to put a sunset. By the time you are getting close to that sunset, if we agree that this sector is still a priority, it takes less effort. Because at that point in time, those who want it to be priority will put the pressure to get the amendment done. Whereas if it's no longer priority and there's no sunset, everybody will continue to just enjoy it. And then we say tax revenue is going down, we'll start printing naira again. So that was the thinking behind the way it's been designed. And like I said, the powers to do that is with Mr. President.
The roundtable was able to address public perception to taxes and strategies being set up to spread awareness about tax bills and incentives for the grassroots. Some of the speakers and attendees present also shared key insights gained from the event.
And I think, we can't control what other countries do. So the responsibility we have as a country is to always look at how our policies and the policies of other countries interact and look for areas of opportunities for our country. And if there are risks, how can those risks be managed? We already know that the bulk of what we export to the US is crude oil, refined products, gas, and those are exempted. So whatever impact we have that is direct is currently being looked into by the government. And the ones that are indirect impacts, including the price of oil and all of that, are also being currently analyzed. So I won't be able to give you any more specifics than that. But as a country, those are issues that are under consideration.
So the major takeaway for me is that times will definitely change and change again. We are in the regime of the new tax bill, which may be signed to law in the next few weeks, few months. And as such, businesses must brace up to these realities. They must recheck their workings and ensure that their businesses are being managed such that they get the best of these bills and the laws as it may at that point in time.
In closing, the deputy editor of Business Day, Ololade Akimurele, reflected on the theme and conversations from the conference, thanking all panelists and guests for their presence.
Thank you so much for taking our time to join us here today. I hope you enjoyed the conversations that we had this morning. And I imagine that we'll be leaving here with the full knowledge that the tax reform bills is much more than just VAT sharing formula or arrangement amongst the states. It was really exciting for me, and I'm sure it was the same for you. So I just want to say thank you so much for joining us this morning. Thank you so much to our partners as well, Onaliwun Ajayi. I do hope to see you next time we call on you to be here. Thank you so much.
There's so much shame attached to domestic violence and abuse that because of the shame, nobody talks about it. And then it becomes a vicious cycle. I realize now that it's people who have been abused themselves who abuse others.
Some people would share their story and say, oh, he came at me with a weapon. I didn't have a choice. I couldn't run away. None of them came at me with a weapon. None of them. In fact, none of them threatened me to say, if you tell your parents, I will do. None of them threatened me. What predisposed me was lack of education.
Let your love be blind or let your love be wise. Nobody's going to choose you if you don't choose yourself.
For the toxic workspace, we have bosses who don't have empathy. They could just tell you, you have to do this and you must deliver now. We already said Gen Zs, we like to prioritize ourselves. So we don't want a situation whereby our boss is telling us, you have to do this, you have to do it now, and whether or not you are good, you just have to do it.
Forgiveness is to set a prisoner free, only to realize that the prisoner was you.
Real Talk with Pam remains committed to fostering authentic conversations that inspire and empower. This is Pamela Igbo. I am your host of Real Talk with Pam show.
Good morning and welcome to the Bdtv Breakfast Show. I am Bethel Olajabi.
My name is Elizabeth Musa.
And this is the social listening segment on the Bdtv Breakfast Show.
We're talking about the Fly Nigeria Act. Can you give us a background into what this is about?
We are here today on the streets of Lagos, Nigeria, to gather opinion about a pressing issue.
I go look at the cost of petrol. We get very Nigeria with the suffer.
The income is not really increasing.
but the prices of items are increased.
Nothing like savings again. No. You only pray for that money to even reach you that month.
There's a lot of high pressure, a lot of stress. There's a lot of high targets to be met.
I was quite strict. In my mind, I said, looking for my hand, my picking go spoil.
To allow all banks and all the players in the space.
15% inflation target achievable in 2025.
The command and vision philosophy of both the Chief of Defense Staff, the Chief of Army Staff, and indeed all the service chiefs.
Attention business leaders. Want to make informed decisions? Join the ranks of the best with Premium Business Day. Access in-depth analysis and expert opinions to stay ahead. Subscribe now at premium.businessday.ng and unlock premium content. Plus, you get 50% off your first subscription. Don't miss out. Make smarter choices and seize new opportunities. Sign up now and elevate your business game. Visit premium.businessday.ng today.
Hello, this is Bodi Oshosami on Global Business Insights on Bdtv, where we bring ideas and discussions on the business headlines.
You are watching Business Day Television. This is the Business Day Television broadcast.
Welcome to Business Day TV Roundtable this morning, viewers. My name is Joshua Bassi, your host, and today we'll be discussing the UTME mass failure, what went wrong. We have in the house to discuss the topic, Mr. Victor Obayagbona, the editorial board chairman of Business Day, as well as Charles Oko, who is the education correspondent, Business Day newspaper. Gentlemen, you are welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, let's go. On Monday, the Joint Matriculation Examination Board, also known as JAM, released the result of the Unified Tertiary Matriculation Examination. On the result shows that only 2 out of 1.9 students who wrote the examination, just about 1.5 were able to score 200 marks, and that was just what people have described it as what we can call mass failure. Well, education stakeholders have said that this is unacceptable, and there is a lot of concern about what could have gone wrong during the examination and how this is affecting education sector in Nigeria. All of the issues that students have to confront with, and the education sector, what's government doing? How come this year we have such a massive failure in JAM? And Victor, I'd like to start with you.
Okay.
What do you think must have gone wrong?
For me, there are multiple reasons
why this year records they are recording mass failure, as they call it. Multiple reasons that spreads across the examination body, the examination stakeholders, that is the UTM, the CBT center owners, and to a very limited extent the students. So these are they all contribute to the mass failure we are all talking about today.
Charles, who is to blame here? Is it the student or the parents or JAM or the CBT centers?
Thank you. I wouldn't personally go by blaming, but I would say it is a system that has more or less, instead of being accountable to the stakeholders, that decided to intro rulership instead of leadership. The trend has been there for about 12 years now, from 2016. I think this year is the third worst in the first place. We've had it over and over, and JAM seem not to be concerned. Where you are having mass failure for over a decade, you've not asked yourself what is wrong. A lot of things are wrong, like Chief Osai said. The students are the least in my blame card. I'll start with JAM. How can you ordinarily be talking of, even if it's accreditation or whatever, you subject students to come into the hall by 6:30? No matter how you look at anybody that will be at a place by 6:30 would have to leave house at least by 5. And these are students, they are children. They are children. By the time you leave house by 5 for an examination, psychologically you are not really that ready, so to say. You also look at the CBT centers. There are a lot of reports whereby they get them. The system is non-functional. It's a problem. It destabilizes a student. I've written a CBT exam and I faced such whereby your system is on, you cannot stream. Even the little you know, you begin to forget it because emotionally you are not composed. Yeah. I think the board is not doing us any good. You see that every year, sorry I'm taking it, every year they keep increasing the fee, the form fee. And every year you keep having more people coming. It's as if the system is just out there to make money. I wouldn't know whether for government or for themselves. And come to think of it, JAM umpires or the stakeholders in JAM, that's the administrator, they also have these CBT centers. We have that record. So it's as if it's a chain thing. The students have their own blame, but it's minimal. But JAM, for crying out loud, why would you have 2-3 exams in a day? Then subjecting some set of people to come by 6:30, subjecting some other set to stay there late. Some will be there, they will be hungry. And ordinarily speaking, when you enter exam hall, when you are hungry, you won't give your best. I think it cuts across, and you can talk of the federal government because they've not really come out to say anything. Over a decade, it has been like that. This is the third worst. The worst was 2021, followed by 2018, and 2025 is the third worst.
Talking about having students to come as early as 5, 6:30, but Charles, this is not the first time this year. I mean, this is not the first time JAM is having students to come as early as 5 and 6 and what have you. So what makes the difference this year? Why do we have this mass failure this year? Because it's always been the same time.
Thank you once again. I said something. If you follow what I said, it has been a trend that has been there for over a decade, over 10 years. Go back to the record, you see that since 2016 to date, we've not had up to 30% pass. I remember talking with JAM officer, I don't want to call them. He told me there's nothing like pass. It's just that this is what you score. At the end of the day, ordinarily we believe that 200 is the average score, but that's not what they are looking at. So they don't believe in you pass or you fail. But what I'm saying is this. Even though they have been doing it over the years, it has been a system that has not yielded the needed result. And that is why people are crying out. If it had been giving us the result we expected, we wouldn't be crying out. Now, like you made mention of blame before, I'm going back there. Part of the challenge we have is that we don't even have the teachers. I must mention that. It's not just having a system. The people that are to write the exam, how prepared are they? Now, they are not really that prepared. And we're also having a system that is not helping. That's what I think. It has been there for years. But to go back to record, you see that within that record, they've not really done well. You are doing something and it's not giving you the needed result. And you are insisting. It's just like somebody being stubborn that it must be my way. But like they say, a life that is not evaluated is not worth living. When you do something, you evaluate it. Is this in giving us the needed result? Can we really say our children are not brilliant enough? Now, if they are brilliant, what is the problem? If they are not brilliant enough, how can we get them to be up to that?
To do better.
Yes. Okay. So that is where the issue. I, for one, do not agree that even as an adult, I want to write an exam. You're asking me to come to the center by 6:30. Except the center is in my house. So you can't expect me that I'm coming to maybe from Jakonde to Oshud. I can't, and I'm to be there by 6:30. I must leave the house before 6. Yeah. It has its own risk. Yeah. Not to talk of children. So you can destabilize a child. It's just one of them. There are a lot. Mr. Osai mentioned it. It's a cumulative thing. Some of the students are not even, they are not taking education serious again in Nigeria. Okay. A lot of young ones that are not interested in education. What do you need the education for? You can make your money without education. They even tell you outrightly to your face. There are so many ways they make money, especially with the internet system on.
That's quite unfair. But, Victor, let me come back to you. The Minister of Education, Tunji Alausa, has blamed this on the mass failure on the fact that JAMB is able to cope examination malpractice by the introduction of the computer-based examination. So students are no longer able to cheat. And so and so many people have vehemently disagreed with the minister on this. I don't know what do you see any sense in what the Minister of Education has said?
Sincerely speaking, JAMB introducing the CBT system of writing the Joint Admission and Matriculation Board is a welcome development, and it has improved the rate of even commitment by the students themselves, because right from inception, the rate, if they want to be sincere with themselves, the rate of malpractice has reduced. Because
so the minister is right?
It's not right. That's what I'm saying. The rate of malpractice in the system JAMB introduced is a novel system that is not easily penetrated. My colleague just said something. What the major problem is lack of evaluation. The minister is just said that maybe just to say something and go continue what he's doing. It is not. Because if there is any malpractice this time, it must be by the JAMB officials themselves and the CBT center owners. And we learned that some of these JAMB officials, they are even the CBT center owners. The problem here, I happen to have some teenagers who wrote this very. When they went for the pre-examination they do, one of them could not write. Why? Because the CBT center, their computers were all down. And this is a CBT center that has registered with JAMB and told JAMB, look at what we want to do, and they could not do it. She did not write it. Now, look at another problem, especially the schools across Nigeria. Now, majority of the private schools, they will tell you they prepare their students for the WAEC and the NECO. JAMB is not a priority to them. It's not a priority. And the secondary school to the government schools, majority, 90% of those writing this WAEC, they did not write JAM. Why? The schools will tell them, prepare for WAEC instead of JAM. After now, you can prepare for it. No, these are children, some of them, especially in public school, they have not touched the mouse before. There was a case of a little girl. It was in the examination. She told the teacher, one of the exam, please, this mouse is not okay. I don't know how to use it. The teacher taught her to use it. Right there, taught her how to use it. And that using it and clicking that mouse, that was the only question. At the end of that very exam, 1/40. Because what am I trying to say in effect is, those systems, some of them are out of place. My own son last year did the CBT examination. The computer was not good. I took him there.
Okay.
So a lot of things, it is convenient for some people to blame their own inefficiency on others. That's what I'm seeing in this very situation. They should evaluate their system. It's a very good system, but they should evaluate it and try to improve. And any CBT center found wanting should be discredited.
Okay, thank you, Victor. We have joining us online, Anita Okafor. She's a UTME coach. Anita, are you there?
Yes, please. I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, Anita. Good morning.
Good morning.
Okay, so you are, so to say, teacher of students who write JAM. So let me ask you, is it the system that is frustrating the student, or is it that the student themselves are not getting it right?
Okay, thank you very much. I think first of all, I would like to say a very big thank you to Mr. Obo and Mr. Osai, because they have really explained some of the problems. I would say that it's a general stakeholder problem, to be honest. Yes, we know some of the students are not very serious, but then everything rises and falls on leadership. And the leaders in this case, one of the stakeholders I'm going to talk about will be JAM itself. JAM would probably say that you can't say that it's because of the registration process. That is why the students were not able to pass their examination. So I'm not even going to dwell on that, but I would like to talk about other things that happened even before the registration started. If I'm going to be using the English text, the Lekki Headmaster, if that is going to be the English text that I, as a JAM candidate, is going to be reading, please tell me why I'm finding out about this 2 months or maybe 3 months to my examination. It means that you don't have me in mind. It means that you don't take it seriously enough to let me know on time some of the materials that you require of me to read and get set for, right? And then, like Mr. Osai mentioned, not Mr. Osai, Mr. Obo mentioned about the teachers. I would say that the curriculum does not even make an attempt to help people that are going to write TMA. And why do I say so? For instance, if I'm in SS3 and I know that I'm going to write examinations, like in SS3 already, you know that these students are going to write at least 3 examinations that year, from September down to July when they will graduate from secondary school. There's going to be UTME, there's going to be SSCE, some of them will write what we call NECO, and some of them will write GCE. These are all external examinations, and I don't see any reason why from September you cannot start preparing these students for these examinations. Why do we have to wait till the end, almost the end of registration, or like let's say February or March, before we intensify teaching and getting these students ready? And this goes to show in how their results come out, because you then see that they have poor and abysmal performances. If we are proactive as educators, if we are proactive as the body responsible for creating the curriculum for SS3 students, then it behoves on us to ensure that the curriculum, we think of them before the examination period. So I don't see any reason why, for instance, literature students will be learning about Shakespeare, the Shakespeare book they will write for their UTME and for their WAEC and NECO. I don't see why you'll be giving it to them in their SS3 first semester, first term. Why not give it to them before then? I am a product of good parenting in terms of how my parents supported me. I decided that I was going to write my GCE when I was 14 years old. I wasn't going to use the GC for anything. I just wanted to understand what it meant to be writing an external examination. I wanted to be prepared for writing external examinations because most times schools don't train you to be ready for external examinations until the dying minute, right? So yes, we want to put the blame on the students. They say, oh, they are unserious, they are not very interested in education. But tell me why I, as a student, as a young person, be interested in education if all of the policies, if all of the structures that have been put in place are somewhat frustrating my efforts. Tell me why I would like to push myself and be resilient and be determined to do my best when I know that this system is going to frustrate me. Now, let's even talk about what Mr. Osai talked about when he talked that some people only learned how to use the computer, use the mouse while in the examination hall. I tell you, it's so funny because you bring up CBT, and CBT is good. CBT is marvelous. I appreciate it. But the reality of things right now is that we cannot use CBT at this time. I think the best thing we can do is to do a hybrid system. I think in 2013, there was a hybrid system. JAM should understand the reality of things. Yes, we want to be a technology advanced country, but right now that's not our reality. If we are only able to cater properly to 200,000 students or 500,000 students, then say, okay, what we have is 500,000 CBT centers, centers that can accommodate 500,000 students. Why the remaining 1-point-something million can do paper-based tests? Because I see it as hypocrisy, pardon my English, to tell students to use CBT. Meanwhile, when they get into higher institutions of learning, they don't use CBT in their. So they are not even prepared for it. Okay, you make them do you make them go through all of this hassle, and then when they get into the higher institutions of learning, they are using paper-based tests and materials. So I think it cuts across a lot of sectors, and I want to push it to the leadership because, like I mentioned earlier, everything rises and falls on leadership. These people are still very young. They depend on us to guide them and lead them in the way that they should go. So if the bodies such as the teachers, the curriculum board, the JAM centers, if we don't do what we're supposed to do, it's going to show negatively in the examination and in the results that we would see. I did my best by leveraging social media to reach the students. So, and when I got there, in some of the comment sections, some of the things you see the students asking are, what is the parameter? How is JAM going to score us? Because you have 60 questions in English, for instance, and nobody knows, nobody understands how you're going to mark these questions. Which one is 3 marks? Which one are you giving 2 marks? Which one are you giving 1.5? So everything is just out of place. And so I think that the board should still go back to the drawing board and see how they can organize themselves and say, yes, please.
All right, thank you, Anita. I'll come back to you shortly. But Victor, let me ask you. You know, there are some school of thought who believe that JAM should be scrapped. Really, I mean, you can't have students. They're going to do. There's a SSC, right? Then they will also do. Of course, by the way, after JAM, the university will still, pre-JAM examination, test and examination, or what have you. And so the question really is that, do we really still need JAM? So why subject students to layers of examination just for admission? Because what we are looking for here is admission into the university, right? So you do your SSC, and then you do JAM, and then you go to university, you still do just for one admission. So some people believe, look, it is high time the JAM is done away with and allows the university do examination for the student directly. I mean, so I don't know, do you subscribe to this?
Yes and no. Let me say it like put it like that. No, because every country should have a system peculiar to it. JAMB is a system of examination into each university that is peculiar, not to Nigeria now, but some other countries have their own system of admission. In some countries, you do 2 years of college. You hear, my child is in the college, not really in the university now. That's the system should not be scrapped. What the system needs now is self-evaluation, where they are like what Anita just said. She has more in-depth because she's involved in this, in-depth knowledge about this. What she's saying, in effect, is JAMB should sit down where they have not been up and doing. They should try to improve instead of blanketly blaming those children.
Okay.
And why I say yes, I said no because JAMB is peculiar to us and we should allow it. Just like some people will now advocate scrap NYSC, which the real reason they are not seeing. Why NYSC? Because we have a common place where our children, the future of Nigeria, can come together and brainstorm and know themselves. The same thing with JAMB, a common platform that should usher in our young children into the university. Why I say yes, if they must scrap it, they should revisit the issue of A-level. Many years ago, A-level was somehow scrapped, although some foreign schools still do it here. 2 years of post-secondary school examination, which is the best now. Because most of our children, they leave secondary school at some even 14. You see, they do their WAEC and they pass. What do they now do? They should, if they must scrap JAMB, they should make the A-level of 18 a compulsory platform that our children must pass through. In that very 2 years of A-level, at least majority will be 18 before they go into the. If that is, if they leave secondary at 16, 2 years of A-level, 18 before the. It will be good, so that they allow the university to handle their admission section. The A-level result now will now determine those who are qualified and those who are not qualified. What was tenable many years ago. So it's yes and no. It's not put structure in place before you scrap something.
Okay, Charles, let me come back to you. We've talked about so many problems. I will ask you, what do you think at this point in time should be the role of the government in ensuring that things get better?
Thank you. I so much believe in the system that if you want to do something, you look at the goal and the foundation that will sustain that goal. JAMB came to be in 1978. And before then, there was a system in Nigeria. Now, whatever prompted the government to introduce JAMB, has it really been achieved? I think that should be the question we ask ourselves. It's not just the issue of curbing exam malpractice. I'm not an apostle of exam malpractice, but that should not just be the whole, the conclusive end. How do we get a Nigerian child better? What kind of system do we need that will help a child to be a better child? Now, I would suggest for me that JAMB has not really, for me as a person, JAMB has not really fulfilled the goal set for them. Yeah, what I see there is more like revenue generator. Yes. In terms of improving a Nigerian child, they have not done that. And what they need is to really, Anita mentioned it and Chief Osai mentioned it, let them go back to the drawing board. How, now, the CBT, for instance, you asked him, I don't think is the solution. And if he has curbed the exam malpractice, yes, to an extent. But the malpractice comes from different angles. So, in a nutshell, we should look at how do we get a Nigerian child better entering the university. Is it by, let's say, 1 hour writing JAMB or whatever minute they stay writing JAMB? Is it really the true test of a child? If it is not, how best? Like you said, we can use the hybrid system. Or for me, let the universities admit directly on their own. We have it abroad, there's no system that is peculiar to any country. Every of the system we have, we borrowed from one country or the other. We blend it to suit our system. In Britain, they don't have a central board whereby people write an exam to enter university. In America, they don't have a central board whereby people write an exam to enter university. I'm not saying it's a crime in Nigeria, but the Nigerian factor is coming in.
Okay, Charles. Anita, are you still there?
Yes, please, I'm here.
Okay, Anita. Earlier on, you talk about parenting and all of that. So let me ask you, what role do you think parents can play in ensuring that it gets better than what we have seen this year going forward? And of course, again, let me also quickly add, because we are running out of time. Okay. Do you see infrastructure playing a better role in the better education infrastructure in making sure that we have a better education outcome in the country?
Thank you very much. So I did an episode in one of, because like I said, I leverage social media to tutor students. And so one of the episodes I did, I just focused on parents. And I mentioned that parents, in a bid to support your children while they're getting ready for their UTME, number one, you need to help them with getting past questions. You need to get involved in their lives. Some of the parents we have these days, due to the economic realities and whatnot, they have pushed most of their responsibilities to the teachers, to the schools, to take care of their kids, and so they know little or nothing to their children's life or their education. What they want to do. So, for instance, if your child is going to write either SSC or UTME, you should know that there are two different kinds of past questions for those different examinations. How have you bought those past questions for them? Do you sit with them to revise with them? Try and be involved in their lives as much as possible, right? Parents should also read up by themselves what is going on in the education system. Most parents don't do that. This is a child you gave birth to. This is a child you are taking care of. You need to be more involved in order to give them a solid foundation and to help them, move on to what they're supposed to do. Some of them don't even know why they want to choose the courses that they want to choose, right? You need to understand what your life of your child is going to turn out to be. So parents can help in sitting down to study with their kids or revising with them, talking to them, have this communication open. And now with what you talked about infrastructure, I would like to point out that I like what Chief Asai mentioned about the curriculum in terms of A-levels. So I think A-levels is very nice and very okay, but let's face the reality, they might not want to go that route for now. So what can we do? What we can do is we should try as much as possible from the very beginning, to ensure that our curriculum makes provision for students to be trained for external examinations very early. So from SS3 first term, the curriculum should provide for revisions, mock examinations, not bringing new materials, right? I was only able to, imagine me trying to attempt to write GCE at 14 in my SS2 first term. And I passed. I had B2s and I had B grades. My lowest score was even a C6. And I did not even cheat. There was no need to cheat because I had been reading and getting ready for this external examination. I was not just reading and getting prepared for just my school examinations. So imagine what would happen if you give these students about 12 months or maybe 9 months to prepare for their external examinations, all the ones they are going to write. Imagine what would happen, right? In spite of all the CBT problems and challenges that they may face, if a child already has knowledge, already knows what is going to come out in the examination in terms of like being prepared, if they already are prepared, then when the challenges come in terms of like technology and all of that stuff, they can be able to bounce back or at least do better than what we have seen so far. So my suggestion would be curriculum development. We need to look at what we are teaching SS3. If we need to still teach them, or we need to be doing revisions, and then this is either we do a hybrid system or we just find a way to go about it.
All right. Thank you so very much, Anita. Thank you, Victor. Thank you, Charles, for the insightful conversation we've had this morning. I want to believe that the government, JAM, and all the stakeholders within the education system have listened, and they will be able to take some of the suggestions that have been made here today and get them into action, so that we don't want to see a situation where our children just can't pass JAM and move on. So, particularly JAM, I think JAM has a particular role to play here in getting the students to do better than we have seen this year. So thank you once again, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you for having me.
Wrap on the Bdtv roundtable this morning. Thank you for watching.
It's a pleasure.
Good morning and welcome to the Bdtv Breakfast Show. I am Bethel Ogunjobi.
My name is Elizabeth Musa.
And this is the social listening segment on the Bdtv Breakfast Show.
We're talking about the Fly Nigeria Act. Can you give us a background into what this is about?
We are here today on the streets of Lagos, Nigeria, to gather opinion about a pressing issue.
I go look at the cost of petrol. We get very Nigeria with the suffer.
The income is not really increasing, but the prices of items are increased.
Nothing like service again, no. You only pray for that money to reach you that month.
There's a lot of high pressure, a lot of stress. There's a lot of high targets to be met.
I was quite strict. In my mind, I said, looking for my hand, my picking go spoil.
To allow all banks and all the players in the space
15% inflation target achievable in 2025.
The command and vision philosophy of both the Chief of Defense Staff, the Chief of Army Staff, and indeed all the service chiefs.
I am, of course, a great admirer of the impeccable credibility, professionalism, and business savviness of businessmen. If you really mean business in Nigeria, start your day with businessmen.
Business Day is West Africa's leading provider of business intelligence and information, delivering premium content across diversified media platforms, including online, mobile, and print. Since its inception in 2001 with a weekly newspaper production, Business Day has expanded its reach to provide exclusive content accessible through print, mobile, and online channels. Our premium offerings are further enriched with syndicated content from esteemed sources like the Financial Times, The Economist, and the Harvard Business Review. At Business Day, our mission is clear: to be the foremost provider of business and financial content, empowering readers to make informed decisions in Nigeria and Africa. Since our establishment, we have been committed to delivering insightful, relevant, and accurate information about Nigeria's business and finance environment, while contextualizing the impact of global events. We monitor the stock market, analyze the companies driving it, and report on government policies and their economic implications.
For being consistent in organizing these CEO forums for almost the last 14 years, I think this was a commendation. and I think something that will encourage them to continue.
From decoding market trends to dissecting economic shifts, we offer actionable investment ideas and serve as a compass for decision makers navigating complexity. Beyond headlines, Business Day fosters discussions on critical economic issues through impactful conferences and events. These platforms bring industry leaders together to share narratives that drive innovation and spark meaningful dialogues. Our events galvanize connections, bridging the gap between inspiration and achievement. For businesses seeking visibility, our strong digital presence offers unparalleled opportunities. With millions of followers across social media and a dynamic website attracting visitors from within and outside Nigeria, Business Day is the ideal platform to boost visibility for your products and services. If you're looking for in-depth analysis and expert opinions on Nigeria and Africa's business landscape, Business Day is your guide.
Attention business leaders. Want to make informed decisions? Join the ranks of the best with Premium Business Day. Access in-depth analysis and expert opinions to stay ahead. Subscribe now at premium.businessday.ng and unlock premium content. Plus, you get 50% off your first subscription. Don't miss out. Make smarter choices and seize new opportunities. Sign up now and elevate your business game. Visit premium.businessday.ng today.
You are watching Business Day Television.
So this talent management conference is a strategic gathering of CEOs, HR professionals, policymakers, and wellness advocates who are committed in different ways to building a resilient, productive people, having a primary focus on ensuring the well-being of our people.
Business Day Media held its Talent Management Conference on the 8th of April 2025. The conference brought together a spectacular corp of CEOs, top HR professionals, government policymakers, and wellness advocates committed to building resilient people-first organizations in Nigeria. The publisher of Business Day, Mr. Frank Ibogun, delivered a welcome address speaking to the theme of the occasion.
With 74% of Nigerian employees reportedly disengaged at work and productivity losses exceeding billions of dollars annually, the urgency to rethink talent management in our organizations has never been greater. This conference serves as a vital platform to explore how aligning employee well-being with organizational goals can unlock untapped profitability and, of course, long-term competitiveness. From practical wellness initiatives to engagement-driven leadership models, this event offers actionable insights to Nigerian businesses ready to future-proof their organization's workforce.
As the event proceeded, the keynote address was given by Professor Akin Abayomi, Honorable Commissioner of the Lagos State Ministry of Health, who made emphasis on employee well-being, health, among all the critical areas of well-being.
Your health as an employee, we have to make sure that you are a healthy person and that you're in a fit state to make the contribution for which you've been engaged to do. But at the same time, we don't want the workspace to contribute negatively to your health and well-being. And so the workspace is a complex environment from the moment you leave your home till the moment you get to your office, if you are doing a physical job, or if you are in a virtual space, that connectivity is important. So we look at even issues around commuting, transportation. How do you get to work? When you get to work, what is the comfort level of your work environment? What is the government doing in terms of policy around occupational health? What is the government doing about recreational spaces around your work environment? Do you have to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning to get to work? And then you are dredging the fact that as you knock off, you're going to be spending another 2 or 3 hours commuting to get back home.
You are watching Business Day Television.
After the 2023 presidential election, in which the Labour Party made a good showing, riding on the back of the Obedient movement to come third with a total of 6,101,533 votes, it would have been expected that the party would consolidate its gains to become even stronger as a major opposition party. Unfortunately, however, rather than leverage on its 2023 election gains to galvanize Nigerians towards wresting power from the ruling All Progressives Congress in 2027, the party has enmeshed in unending crisis, which seems to have torn it apart, with different factions laying claim to its leadership. As things stand, and with politicians already campaigning openly for the 2027 general elections, which is still about 2 years away, stakeholders and Nigerians in general are asking questions. Will the Labour Party survive? Will it implode or dissolve into another party as politicians advance merger talks? Well, to help us understand this and more on the big story, we have joining us Mr. Anthony Aileman, Business Day's Assistant News Editor from our Abuja office. Welcome to the show, Mr. Aileman.
Thank you very much. Good morning,
Very good to have you. Good morning. So let's walk to the past. Let's go to the past. So can you walk us through the root causes of the current leadership crisis within the Labour Party?
Oh, okay, thank you very much. It is quite unfortunate. What you are seeing is a direct result of the collapse of internal party democracy. Over the years, we have seen situations where political parties are not able to, allow smooth succession when the tenure of a particular set of elected leadership expires. It is exactly the same thing that is playing out now in the Labour Party. It is the collapse of internal party democracy. What do I mean? In 2023, by June, immediately after the general election, the Julius Abure-led National Executive Committee, NEC, of the Labour Party were given a kind of 1-year moratorium to, restructure the party work, and then at the end of that tenure, the end of 1 year, they were supposed to organize an election that should have brought in a new set of party executives. Of course, it did not exclude those who were already there from contesting, but there were procedures that were necessary to be followed before you go for national convention of the party. But these procedures, from what we gathered here in Abuja, were ignored. The extent that before you go for national convention, Article 19 or thereabout of the Labour Party spells out how you can organize the national convention. First of all, you have to start by conducting what is generally known as ward, local government, state, and zonal congresses. At each stage of these congresses, executives are elected or delegates are elected. Delegate is the better word. Delegates are elected from one state, from the ward, that will go to the local government, get elected local government representatives that will move to the state. Then you will get to the state, you elect a fresh set of state representatives that will now move to the zonal level. At the zonal level, you also elect representatives that will go to the national convention. And at the national convention, you now elect the various executives of the party. But from what we heard, these processes were ignored. They were not properly followed. By March 2024, the Julius Abure-led ESCO organized a convention that returned them to power without following these due processes. And it was at that point that many people wondered why such should have taken place. And that was the beginning of the problems that we have today. I think I stopped there for now.
Right. What we're seeing, Mr. Eleman, is that there seems to be competing factions claiming legitimacy. So who are the key players here and what claims do they have?
Good. Like I said, the claims are simple. Those who were returned in the March 2024 National Convention, as it were, are laying claim to be the authentic leadership of the Labour Party. Whereas those who disagreed with the processes that brought them to the office are saying, your tenure has ended, therefore, you should leave. This is just the simple claims that are going on right now. Your tenure has ended. Leave the state. Let a new set of executives be elected to run the party, because they were not comfortable with not following the due process, which also was acknowledged by INEC. INEC said they've never attended any of the so-called plans that produce the current NEC executive. So these are the issues that that are playing out. These are the claims. One group is saying your tenure has expired, and the other group is saying the authentic leaders. And talking about groups, the Labour Party is currently split into about 3 different groups. The group led by Julius Abure and his NEC members. You have the Nigerian Labour Congress /TUC group that, of course, does not agree with the procedures that brought Abure into office this time around. And of course, you have the obedient group that constitute the largest similar group in the Labour Party, who are also saying that they were excluded from the processes, the procedures that led to the emergence of this current executive. So what you now have is Abure on the one side and his NEC members, and you have the NSA, TUC, and you have the obedient group. And of course, the NLC, TUC as Joe Ajero and the others. Joe Ajero, what they did was they had to constitute the political wing to rework the party itself so that there will be a fresh election that will produce new executive. And it was the same thing that the obedient group, which to my own understanding, is being led by Peter Obi, Dr. Alex Oti, the governor of Abia State. Yes, Abia State, sure. And Leonard Usman, who they now came up with as the interim caretaker committee leadership of the party. Now, if you look at the three groups, Labour, TUC, and the obedient group are working in tandem. They have agreed to work together. But just to ensure that the new leadership emerges, the party is restructured ahead of 2027. So this is what we have at the moment.
Right, and you pointed out something and just really giving me like a sort of insight on this conflict and the three groups that we have present, the one led by Joe Ajero, the NLC TUC group, and then the Julius Abure group, as well as the Obedient. But how has this internal conflict affected the party's ability to function effectively, both nationally and at the grassroots level?
Yes. You know, there is this adage that says when two elephants fight, the grass bears the brunt, the grass suffers. And don't forget that in politics, when you have a leadership problem, it will definitely affect the ability of the party to function effectively. Where we have gotten to now in Labour Party, or what the party has gotten to now, is so that there is crisis of confidence, and there is, of course, voices of dissent everywhere. Those who no longer believe in the leadership of Abure, and by that particular development, it becomes difficult to, manage the party effectively from the grassroots, because you now have people who do not believe in the leadership of the party. And if you have such a situation, there will be challenges of patriotism, there will be challenges of commitment, and Nigeria political setting. You find out that very easily people will leave the party because they find it difficult to actualize their dreams and aspirations within the party. Don't forget I started by saying that this is as a result of the collapse of internal democratic mechanism of the party. And every politician that goes into a political party as a member, card-carrying member, aspires to, gain one position or the other. They have a right to contest for any position that they so choose. They also have a right to vote for whoever they want to elect into any particular position. So where you don't give them that opportunity, what you have is a situation where the people loses confidence in what the party is doing. And of course, there will be division. So what we have seen so far is that the conflict has created a kind of very serious challenge for the party to function effectively, right from the grassroots to the national level. And that, of course, affects not only mobilization, it affects commitment, it affects even their own ability to stand as opposition party right now because of the challenges of internal crisis. And I take you back, if you permit me, just briefly.
Okay.
But yes, like you said when you were introducing the program itself, that the Labour Party was adjudged to be third in the 2023 general election. Third in the sense that they scored a total of 6,101 votes, 101,533 votes. Now, that was 25%, 25.4% of the total votes that were cast in 2023. And if you look at the performance of the party, they surprised political pundits that they could do so well, Obi contesting that election for the very first time. He took most of the key states. The party took Lagos, party took Abuja, took some states, Edo, Cross River, Nasarawa in the north, Plateau, and so on and so forth. Now, that meant that people came out en masse to follow that particular political party. They were interested in the presidential candidate. They had confidence in him. And that made them to overwhelmingly come out to support the Labour Party. And when you now have such support, the people, the obedient movement was purely an organic movement. It was a movement that was beyond description in terms of support for a particular person. So what now happened is, where you now have a crisis of confidence, many people who looked up to that party for new direction, new political thinking, new political values, new political ways of doing things, for that party to begin to have internal crisis and now descend to a level where what you see in the traditional political settings that have destroyed other political parties are now coming into this party and also ruining the party's chances for development and vibrancy and ability to challenge the ruling party as an opposition party. You also discover that people will begin to lose faith in the party. So that was why it was necessary for the party not to have descended to this level in the first instance.
Okay, Mr. Element, well, what exactly is the role of INEC and the courts in this dispute? Because I don't know if there's anything that's been done at this moment. Have they taken any definitive stance yet?
Yes. What do I mean? In June 2024, when they realized that the tenure of Abure had expired, they wrote Labour Party and expressly informed him that your tenure has expired. That was after he had conducted that March convention, which returned him to office. Because INEC did not observe the congresses like I said earlier. So INEC now wrote to Labour Party in June that, look, Abure is no longer recognized by us, and by extension, the leadership of the Labour Party was no longer recognized by INEC. So when INEC did that, it was clear that Abure's tenure has ended. Because if they had taken Ireland, if they had done the right thing, INEC would have followed up from the grassroots or the congresses and to the eventual national convention that brought Abure up. So since they were not part of it, because they were not informed that it was not done properly, they wrote Labour Party. Now, when they wrote Labour Party now, it meant that they excluded in all their meetings with political parties chairmen, the Abure-led ESCO of Labour Party were then excluded from their meetings until Abure now went to court. And as we speak, if you go to INEC portal, what you find out that when you see names of chairmen of political parties, you will find them elected. Abure's own, they say by court order. So they reinstated him by court order. So that was what INEC could do as an umpire, as what you say, a regulatory agency. And that, yes, that's the power they had, and that's what they have done so far. Now, don't forget, when the judiciary also made some pronouncements on April 2nd or thereabout, that the issues of the issue of leadership of the party was a direct responsibility of the internal affairs of the party. The Nenadi Usman-led group, because that was the Supreme Court judgment, that's the latest judgment from the Supreme Court. Nenadi Usman-led group took that judgment and went to INEC and placed it before INEC. This is what the court has said. But of course, you need to give them some time. As we speak, INEC has not, given any further directives. They have not said any other thing. So the party is waiting to hear from INEC as we speak.
Okay, so because we are pressed for time now, I have to ask you two questions before I let you go. The recent alleged suspension of Alex Oti of Abia State, who happens to be the only governor elected on the platform of the party, what actually led or triggered this alleged suspension?
Nothing other than what I have told you.
Okay.
When you have what happened was that when that election in March 2024 was conducted, and INEC now wrote to the party and said, we do not recognize the leadership. What they now did in September was that they now tried to see, how do we rescue our party? How do we realign? How do we rejig the party? How do we restructure this party? How do we reorganize the party? They now went, they had a meeting in Umuahia, made up of in a political party, when you talk about the National Executive Committee, there are the statutory members. And when you talk about statutory members, you talk about the president, if they had a president. You talk about either the former president, if they had one, vice president. You talk about the governors and the elected members in the National Assembly, elected members in the State House of Assembly, wherever they exist. These are the statutory members. It is the statutory members that met in Umuahia, plus some other who understand the workings of the party in September 2024, and took a firm decision to rescue the party, since Abure refused to listen to INEC and the rest of the people. Said the best thing to do is to find a middle way approach to see how we can rescue the party. So they now set up or constituted a 24 members or thereabout caretaker committee headed by Nenadi Usman to interface with all the party members and then come up with the best way forward. So it was on the basis of that they went to the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court granted them judgment in April this year. So what you have seen is that the non-elected members, the statutory members of Labour have been making effort to see how they can rescue the party. And these are the people who hold the party really. Not members of the National Assembly, members of the State House of Assemblies, members of, the executive of Abia State government. So this is exactly what you could say are the sins of Alex Otti.
Okay.
For taking this decision to help to restructure the party. Because as it is right now, he is the leader of the party. He's the highest elected government official in the party. So he should play that role effectively. So these are the things that he has done. And those are the sins that now made Abure-led group to now come up to bring down the sledgehammer on him and the other members of the senators in the National Assembly, who is also a member of the caretaker committee.
And what we also see these days is that the presidential candidate of the party in the 2023 presidential general election, Peter Obi, is not actually seen doing as much as people would have expected him to do to steer the party's leadership. What do you think is the reason that Peter Obi seems to do?
Okay, I think that is not really correct. I have been following the trend and development in the party. You see, if you look at Peter Obi's personal disposition, he is somebody who believes in not rocking the boat. He's somebody who believes in bringing everybody together to see how we can structure the party in such a way that it's a platform that he believes so much in, that he wants to use, and he doesn't want to exclude anybody, not even Abure and the rest. So behind the scene, Obi has worked tirelessly. I can assure you that. I can tell you. I have attended some of their meetings where he had listed personal efforts to get Abure to work with the rest of the party. For instance, Obi is determined to ensure that nobody in the obedient movement, in fact, by now, Labour Party should have been stronger across the country. That was why I went to that memory lane to tell you how the spread, the Labour Party spread was in the 2023 general election. Labour Party should have leveraged on that result and established structures right from the from the world level to the national level. These are Obi's kind of thinking and his own perspective. Because in 2027, you are going to see a kind of a reaction from Nigerians based on the way this internal crisis of the party is handled. And he doesn't want to lose what he has so far by not putting his house together first. So he has been working assiduously behind the scene. At the last meeting of the statutory members of NEC that was held at Transcorp Hilton, you could see the pain that he expressed, that personally he reached out to Abure and his group. I said, look, work with Alex Otti and the others, and the Labour Party, the NLC and the TUC. Unite everybody. You are a leader. If the people say they don't want you, it's not a do or die affair. Leave the stage. In fact, Alex Otti went further to tell us, that is after Obi finished speaking, that they offered Abure the position of chairman of the board of trustees. If the people say Abure's tenure has ended and they don't want him returned as chairman, give him the position of board of trustees chairmanship, so that they can restructure the party from the grassroots and build it up to the national level. So it is not true that Obi has not been working. Obi is a workaholic person. I'm sorry to, this is what I have seen about the man.
Absolutely.
Believe me.
Absolutely. But looking ahead now, what steps do are being considered to resolve this crisis and to restore unity within this party before the 2027 general elections?
Thank you very much. You see, again, it brings us again to what I said about the former presidential candidate of Labour Party. Some people within the organized labor, when I say organized labor, I'm talking about the labor unions, the NLC, TUC. You know how they operate? Yes. They had wanted to go to the party secretariat in Abuja and chase out, using the word chase out. You know, there was a time we wrote stories that they wanted to invade the party headquarters. They were told not to take that route, not to use that kind of method to achieve whatever results they are looking for. So what has been done and which is still going on is a kind of process of reconciliation and trying to find a middle ground approach that will not allow Labour Party to play into the hands of those who want to destroy the party. And you know what I mean. You see, opposition in Nigeria is not finding it easy. So the party is careful not to create an opportunity for the enemies to break the party. They've been doing it for a long time. You remember the Apapa saga. They had tried to use Apapa to destroy the party, to break the party, and they couldn't succeed. So now it is the problem of the internal issue. So what they have done is that the caretaker committee is working, and by last Thursday, last Monday, they had announced that there was going to be very soon a comprehensive national data, approach to building the party again from the scratch.
From the scratch, okay.
From the world level. We are going to start world registration, open up the register for any Nigerian that want to register in the party. So when they finish, they will now conduct world congresses, they will conduct local government congresses, they will conduct state, and then get to zonal level and produce people that will come for national convention properly, so that all these issues of acrimonies and problems and then all other issues are laid to rest. So this is exactly where they are right now. Of course, the court had told them that the leadership is an internal affairs of the party, so the party wants to ensure that they handle it the best way they can to restructure the party and bring Labour Party back again the way it was pre-2023.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Anthony Aileman. We will definitely keep our fingers crossed and hope that things pan out positively for the Labour Party. Thank you for spending your time this morning with us on The Big Story.
It is indeed my pleasure. Thank you very much.
Right, that's where we'll bring it to close here on The Big Story on the Bdtv Breakfast Show. My name is Elizabeth Musa. Keep watching Bdtv.
I am, of course, a great admirer of the impeccable credibility, professionalism, and business savviness of businessmen. If you really mean business in Nigeria, start your day with businessmen.
Business Day is West Africa's leading provider of business intelligence and information, delivering premium content across diversified media platforms, including online, mobile, and print. Since its inception in 2001 with a weekly newspaper production, Business Day has expanded its reach to provide exclusive content accessible through print, mobile, and online channels. Our premium offerings are further enriched with syndicated content from esteemed sources like the Financial Times, The Economist, and the Harvard Business Review. At Business Day, our mission is clear: to be the foremost provider of business and financial content, empowering readers to make informed decisions in Nigeria and Africa. Since our establishment, we have been committed to delivering insightful, relevant, and accurate information about Nigeria's business and finance environment, while contextualizing the impact of global events. We monitor the stock market, analyze the companies driving it, and report on government policies and their economic implications.
For being consistent in organizing these CEO forums for almost the last 14 years, I think this was a commendation, and I think something that will encourage them to continue.
From decoding market trends to dissecting economic shifts, we offer actionable investment ideas and serve as a compass for decision makers navigating complexity. Beyond headlines, Business Day fosters discussions on critical economic issues through impactful conferences and events. These platforms bring industry leaders together to share narratives that drive innovation and spark meaningful dialogues. Our events galvanize connections, bridging the gap between inspiration and achievement. For businesses seeking visibility, our strong digital presence offers unparalleled opportunities, with millions of followers across social media and a dynamic website attracting visitors from within and outside Nigeria. Business Day is the ideal platform to boost visibility for your products and services. If you're looking for in-depth analysis and expert opinions on Nigeria and Africa's business landscape, Business Day is your guide.
Good morning and welcome to the Bdtv Breakfast Show. I am Bethel Bdtv.
My name is Elizabeth Musa.
And this is the social listening segment on the Bdtv Breakfast Show.
We're talking about the Fly Nigeria Act. Can you give us a background into what this is about?
We are here today on the streets of Lagos, Nigeria, to gather opinion about a pressing issue.
I go look at the cost of petrol. We get very Nigeria with the suffer.
The income is not really increasing, but the prices of items are increased.
Nothing like service again, no. You only pray for that money to reach you that month.
There's a lot of high pressure, a lot of stress. There's a lot of high targets to be met.
I was quite strict. In my mind, I said, looking for my hand, my picking go spoil.
To allow all banks and all the players in the space
15% inflation target achievable in 2025.
The command and vision philosophy of both the Chief of Defense Staff, the Chief of Army Staff, and indeed all the service chiefs.
I am, of course, a great admirer of the impeccable credibility, professionalism, and business savviness of businessmen. If you really mean business in Nigeria, start your day with businessmen.
Business Day is West Africa's leading provider of business intelligence and information, delivering premium content across diversified media platforms, including online, mobile, and print. Since its inception in 2001 with a weekly newspaper production, Business Day has expanded its reach to provide exclusive content accessible through print, mobile, and online channels. Our premium offerings are further enriched with syndicated content from esteemed sources like the Financial Times, The Economist, and the Harvard Business Review. At Business Day, our mission is clear: to be the foremost provider of business and financial content, empowering readers to make informed decisions in Nigeria and Africa. Since our establishment, we have been committed to delivering insightful, relevant, and accurate information about Nigeria's business and finance environment, while contextualizing the impact of global events. We monitor the stock market, analyze the companies driving it, and report on government policies and their economic implications.
For being consistent in organizing these CEO forums for almost the last 14 years, I think this is worth commendation, and I think something that will encourage them to continue.
From decoding market trends to dissecting economic shifts, we offer actionable investment ideas and serve as a compass for decision makers navigating complexity. Beyond headlines, Business Day fosters discussions on critical economic issues through impactful conferences and events. These platforms bring industry leaders together to share narratives that drive innovation and spark meaningful dialogues. Our events galvanize connections, bridging the gap between inspiration and achievement. For businesses seeking visibility, our strong digital presence offers unparalleled opportunities, with millions of followers across social media and a dynamic website attracting visitors from within and outside Nigeria. Business Day is the ideal platform to boost visibility for your products and services. If you're looking for in-depth analysis and expert opinions on Nigeria and Africa's business landscape, Business Day is your guide.
Good morning and welcome to the Bdtv Breakfast Show. I am Bethel Ogujobi.
My name is Elizabeth Musa.
And this is the social listening segment on the Bdtv Breakfast Show.
We're talking about the Fly Nigeria Act. Can you give us a background into what this is about?
We are here today on the streets of Lagos, Nigeria, to gather opinion about a pressing issue.
I go look at the cost of petrol. We get very Nigeria with the suffer.
The income is not really increasing, but the prices of items are increased.
Nothing like service again, no. You only pray for that money to reach you that month.
There's a lot of high pressure, a lot of stress. There's a lot of high targets to be met.
I was quite strict.
You are watching Business Day Television.
Hello and welcome to the social listening segment here on the Bdtv Breakfast Show. This is where we get to analyze top trends making the rounds across social media. My name is Elizabeth Musa, and joining me in the studio this morning, not joining me in the studio but virtually, is Mr. Obidike Okafor. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
It's good to see you on the other side today. Happy weekend to you.
I wish you the same.
Right, let's start off with some weekendy news, as good news from the Vatican, where Robert Prevost, a cardinal from the United States, has been elected as the new head of the Roman Catholic Church. Now, he is the first U.S. pontiff, and he takes the name Leo XIV. In his first speech as pontiff, he said the church would build bridges and welcome everyone. More than 100 Roman Catholic cardinals meeting in a secret conclave elected the new pope in 2 days after white smoke appeared from a chimney atop the Sistine Chapel at the Vatican on Thursday signaling that a conclusive vote was held. Well, let's see the tweet about this good news of a new pope that's been selected. Let's check out some of the tweets and the comments on social media. Of course, there have been loads and loads of reactions to this story on social media. But let me come to you, OBDK, while we're looking out for some of the comments on social media. When you saw this happen, when you saw the white smoke coming out of the chimney at the Sistine Chapel and all of that news on social media, breaking on social media that, of course, we have a new pope now. How did you feel? And also, it's the first United States pontiff. How do you feel about this news?
Well, two things. One, I'm happy that for the first time, someone from a country not from the familiar country was made a pope. I know it's spiritual; they pray about it before they select. So I'm happy that that diversity is showing. And then, secondly, for me, the work that was left behind by the former or by the late pope, I think this pope has to just hit the ground running, because there are a lot of unaddressed things both inside the Catholic Church and then, of course, things happening around the world. The church is a moral representation of the world. So what he has to say is important, and I think that for me, he should just hit the ground running as it is at this moment, because a lot is happening, a lot.
And I'm really, I'm very curious to see how this entire thing pans out, because you know how the United States is always all about freedom, all about very liberal approach. I'm looking to see if this new pope will also come in with that liberal approach to occupying this position, and what some of those approaches will be in the years that he's going to spend as pope. So I'm really curious to see also the kind of how he's going to bring people together. What are some of the things he will be doing? How his reign will be, so to speak. So I'm really, really, really looking out for all of that. But let's see some of the reactions on social media. So there's a comment from T-Batch. T-Batch said, personally, I thought Cardinal Robert Sarah would have been the best choice, but what do I know? Congrats to Pope Leo XIV. That's from T-Badge 4. A.B. Shola says, the Roman Catholic Church actually conducts the most free and fair elections in mankind history. So organizedly done. Well, that Emenike he says, Cardinal Prevost's selection as Pope marks a historic moment, making him the first American to lead the Catholic Church in its 2,000-year history. That's really a historic moment. Ihunaya Chi says, I pray that the new Pope is guided by the Holy Spirit and remains fully devoted to God's word alone. May God himself lead and direct his every step. Amen. Those are some of the reactions on social media. So back to you, OBDK. I was going to hear your reaction.
Okay, so this new Pope has a close relationship with the late Pope. And, he was, before he became a Pope, he was the leader of the Augustinian order. And that means, and the Augustinian order, they are very, the way Pope Francis was, the late Pope Francis was, they vow to poverty, they don't have anything, they give everything away, they are dedicated to service, and all of that. So I think he will still, hold the line of Pope Francis, where Pope Francis was all embracing, welcoming everyone, try to bring the youth back into the Catholic Church, because over time, especially in Europe, a lot of young people have left the Catholic Church. So I think based on his background as, a friar in the Augustinian order, he'll be one person that, toe that line of, humility, embracing everybody, almost like the way walking that line of Pope Francis, where you are, all embracing and, welcoming everyone. and then seeing how to make things better, make the world a better place, and spread love. So basically, that's just from me. I think but like I said before, he has to hit the ground running because a lot of things are happening. A lot of people are waiting to hear his voice on, certain issues that are happening inside the Catholic Church and around the world.
What are some of these issues happening inside the Catholic Church and around the world?
Inside the Catholic Church, there are still some, issues that need to be sorted out around, giving leadership roles to women in the Catholic Church. There are still the issues of, the Catholic Church experience some, financial issues that need to be addressed. But Francis was addressing it before his demise. So it's something that he needs to continue. And then, of course, around the world, there are wars going on. There is instability in some places. Then there is the thing about AI. It's a big issue. Artificial intelligence is a big issue. And people want to know what the church thinks about it and how it should be handled. So it's a lot, as in what he has a lot of things to address, but I'm sure he'll take it one step at a time.
Interesting. Well, let's move on now and speak on another interesting topic. Interestingly, we've been having this conversation since last week. We've been speaking about Very Dark Man, and we're also speaking about it again today. So after spending 5 consecutive days in the custody of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, popular Nigerian social media activist Martin Otse, popularly known as Very Dark Black Man, has finally regained his freedom. Now, this activist, known for his blunt commentaries and online exposés on societal ills, was arrested last week following what the EFCC described as multiple petitions lodged against him by unnamed individuals. Now, he was released by the EFCC to his lawyer, Deji Adeyanju, on Wednesday. May 8th. Of course, let's see the reactions.
You don't launder your own money. Who broke you are criminal? I don't to do charity. They wonder how. They don't know that they use debt to do charity.
To see how many people really love
Anyways, we're outside.
He happens to be
with my lawyer, of course.
Person that always comes under fire. Wants every Eke market day. But I realized that when you stand for something, you definitely have your people. So this says a lot to people that are always like standing on the fence, or you don't see the side they're on, because he does have his army now. Because on social media, I saw lots of people reacting and being really excited. There was even a lady that talked about the fact that, oh, my husband is out and all of that, and she really professed her love for him. But let's see some of those reactions like we already have on the screen. Abdul says the EFCC freed VDM after 5 days in custody without filing any charges or specifying any offenses, which suggests that something is amiss. However, this reason isn't easily grasped by those lacking discernment, of course. Discernment is one thing. Grind and Chart says EFCC and GT Bank turned VDM into a legend. His life will bury NSPPD. Oh, wow. Nigerians, quit sleeping, amplify truth tellers, or let EFCC's mafia rule you. Interesting remark there. Dr. Penking says EFCC and GT Bank I don't know why they keep putting GT Bank in this entire thing, just succeeded in giving Very Dark Man good publicity. Now, even the people that hated him, exactly what I was saying, have come to love him. I heard Mr. SAN Sua even ask for his release. Now that he has been released, the views on the next Instagram live will surpass NSPPD streams. I really don't know why they keep putting NSPPD in the mix of the entire thing. Nas says in Nigeria, if you don't know influential people, do not trespass. I believe he is referring to VDM and the fact that his ties to influential people sort of saved him, or his ties to influential people sort of also led to his quick bailout or something of that sort. Well, what are your reactions to this story?
Okay, for me, I'm happy for VDM that he's finally out. Like one of the commentators on Twitter said, EFCC, they didn't really say why they were arresting him or why they, took him into custody. It's just unfortunate that sometimes the way things happen here, it doesn't make any sense. Why they arrested him and why they released him everything, nothing makes sense. That's why the first time we spoke about this, I told you that it's all mind games. Mind games to what end, I do not know. Because even now, they still haven't specifically told us why BDM was arrested. And for me, it doesn't make any sense at all. Currently, like I told you before, if they had released him that time, we'll have seen a video of him and his lawyer, which we did not see until now. So now there is proof that BDM has actually been released. I feel sorry for GT Bank because GT Bank has absolutely nothing to do with it. It's just unfortunate that it was in one of their branches got arrested. But you know, once your name is associated with something bad, people just keep putting your name in, even if you didn't do anything. And I pray the public understands that GTB doesn't have anything to do with it. It was just, you know, bad timing. EFCC picked when he went to GT to arrest him. They don't really have anything to do with it, but I hope eventually their names will be cleared. So back to BDM. For me, I know that it's not going to end here. EFCC will still come after him. So he shouldn't think they are just biding their time until they pin him with the right thing that they need to draw him in. They unfortunately, this time around, they aren't able to pin anything on him yet. Because all these things are allegations, you know, alleged, multiple, but they are not really saying anything. So for me, I don't think they've really found what to, you know, hold him down with. They are still looking. And you know, this kind of how you are sure that out of all these things this person has done, there are things that this person needs to answer for. But they need concrete evidence to be able to keep him in custody and charge him to court. So but until then, I think for now, BDM is a free man now. But I don't know how long he'll be free before EFCC comes after him again. But they will come after him again. This is not the end of this story. In fact, this is just the beginning.
Oh wow, like this is just the beginning. Interesting.
Yes.
Wow, wow. Well, congratulations to Very Dark Man for, I mean, the freedom that he has found for now. According to you, Bdtv, you said this is just the beginning. Well,
for now, they'll still come after him.
I don't know about
they are not letting this matter go like that.
Okay.
Right. He was released on bail. Being releasing someone on bail doesn't guarantee that they won't still come for him or find charges or take him to court and all of that. So for me, I just feel that this is the beginning of EFCC tracking him down until they get what they are looking for, until they get what they as in get that thing that they used to hold him down.
All right. In the meantime, congratulations to Very Dark Man, and thank you very much, Mr. Obidike, for your time this morning.
Thank you for having me.
The social listening segment. I wish you a lovely weekend. And that's how we ended today on the social listening segment today. My name is Elizabeth Musa. Keep watching Bdtv.
Good morning and welcome to the Bdtv Breakfast Show. I am Bethel Obajabi.
My name is Elizabeth Musa.
And this is the social listening segment on the Bdtv Breakfast Show.
We're talking about the Fly Nigeria Act. Can you give us a background into what this is about?
We are here today on the streets of Lagos, Nigeria, to gather opinion about a pressing issue.
I go look at the cost of petrol. We get very Nigeria with the suffer.
The income is not really increasing, but the prices of items are increased.
Nothing like service again. No. You only pray for that money to reach you that month.
There's a lot of high pressure, a lot of stress. There's a lot of high targets to be met.
I was quite strict. In my mind, I said, nothing from my hand, my picking go spoil.
To allow all banks and all the players in the space
This inflation process in the UK economy has continued. UK inflation was 2.6% in the latest data for March. That's above our 2% target. but it's a little bit lower than expected. So with the progress we have made, we can take another step in making monetary policy less restrictive. So today we've cut bank rate by 0.25 percentage points to 4.25%. As the past few weeks demonstrate, the global economic environment remains an uncertain one. Interest rates are not on autopilot. They cannot be. Instead, the MPC must continue to respond carefully to the evolving economic circumstances and the outlook for inflation in the UK. Whatever happens, the MPC will continue to set bank rate to ensure that inflation returns sustainably to the 2% target in the medium term. I'll return to the global economy shortly, but I will start with and spend most of my time on what is happening in the UK economy. That is ultimately what matters for UK inflation and monetary policy. And I will have 4 key messages reflecting our 4 key judgments on the outlook, before concluding with the uncertainties we face and the implications for monetary policy, and a few words on the prospects we see for a trade agreement. My first key message is that disinflation in domestic price and wage pressures is continuing. While headline inflation is expected to rise in the near term, we do not expect that to persist. Chart 1, which has just come up, shows the development of 12-month consumer price inflation since 2021, that's the white line, along with its components. As the chart shows, headline inflation has been around the 2% target over the past year, albeit slightly above on average. In the shaded area, the chart shows how we expect headline inflation to rise to 3.5% in the coming months. That's a little less than we projected in February, and we expect that increase to be temporary. Now, chart 2 illustrates why that's the case. It shows that the expected increase in inflation is driven mostly by energy prices, now in yellow, on that chart that is, and besides that by increases in regulated water bills, that's the purple bars, index bills for services such as broadband and mobile phones, that's the orange bars, and higher national insurance contributions, they're shown in light blue. These price increases are not directly linked to the underlying cost pressures in the UK economy. We should not expect them to persist. Meanwhile, other services prices, the darker blue bars, those that are more closely linked to activity and cost pressures, are on course to pull down on inflation in the coming months. As the effects of volatile energy prices and indexed and regulated price changes pass through, it's not least the path for these other services prices that will determine headline inflation. And the path for services inflation points to a continued gradual easing of inflationary pressure in the UK economy. And this is shown in chart 3. While their levels remain elevated, measures of underlying services price inflation have continued to diminish. This has happened as pressures from non-labour input costs have faded. So persistence in wage growth is now the main driver of continued high levels of services price inflation. My second key message is that a small margin of slack has opened up in the UK economy, and we expect it to widen over the next couple of years. Heightened uncertainty, weak productivity growth, and the continued restrictive stance of monetary policy have all been weighing on GDP growth recently. Businesses have been cautious about investing. That's the message we're getting. And while real household incomes have risen quite strongly, consumption has not followed suit. This weakness in demand has coincided with continued weakness in the potential supply capacity of the UK economy. Productivity growth has been weak. Nevertheless, labour market developments, survey indicators of capacity utilisation and statistical estimates all suggest that weaker demand has led to a small margin of economic slack opening up. Looking through data volatility, we expect underlying GDP growth to remain subdued in the near term before economic activity starts to pick up later this year as household spending and business investment recover, supported by a downward path for interest rates. We expect housing investment to strengthen too. Assuming potential productivity recovers some of its recent weakness, that pickup in GDP growth will still probably go hand in hand with a wider margin of slack. This takes me to the third key message. An emerging margin of slack in the UK economy should act against any remaining persistence in domestic wage and price setting to return inflation to the 2% target sustainably. A normalisation in wage growth is particularly important to ensure that services price inflation continues to fall back to levels consistent with the 2% target for headline consumer price inflation. Now, this process has still some way to go. Annual private sector regular average weekly earnings growth was 5.9% in the 3 months to February, having risen in the second half of last year. Now, that level in February was slightly lower than we'd expected in the last monetary policy report, however. And as chart 4 shows, underlying measures, estimated by the bank staff, have been more stable and point to a slightly lower rate of wage growth. And as we look ahead over the course of this year, we expect wage growth to moderate with a loosening in labour market conditions. This is supported by forward-looking indicators. The bank's latest decision-maker panel survey suggests that wage growth will be about 4% for the year ahead. That's the yellow diamond on this chart. And the bank's agents point to average pay rises for 2025 be between 3.5% and 4%. That's the purple diamond. With the continued easing in labour as well as non-labour costs, further declines in services price inflation will support a gradual return of headline inflation to the target as we look beyond the near-term increase. Now, as shown in chart 5 here, in our baseline projection, conditional on the market-implied path for bank rate, inflation gradually falls from later this year to reach around the 2% target within 2 years' time. My fourth key message is about the global economy. New tariffs and elevated trade policy uncertainty weigh on global activity. We expect global trade prices to be materially weaker, particularly in announcements with significant changes to tariff policies. Some of its trade partners have responded. Volatility in financial markets has accompanied these announcements. Slower growth in the global economy is likely to reduce the demand for our exports and impact economic activity here in the UK. That reduction in external demand will also work to reduce inflationary pressures in the economy. But while the impact of what we have seen so far is likely to push inflation down somewhat, the overall impact on inflation remains uncertain. On the one hand, lower US demand for global exports, particularly from China, could lead to lower global export prices and hence lower prices in the UK, reducing inflationary pressure further. On the other hand, higher costs in the global supply chain, as intermediate inputs are subjected to tariffs or because of disruptions, could push up on prices. And while sterling has appreciated in recent weeks, easing inflationary pressures, global exchange rates can shift in response to trade policy news and the evolution of global risk sentiment. Although they understandably dominate the headlines, it's important to remember that global trade policies and how they affect the UK economy is only one source of risk to the outlook for inflation in the UK. Let me say just a word about the news, obviously, that has been coming out in the last few hours about the prospects of a US-UK trade agreement. We obviously follow this very closely. We haven't been briefed, so I'm speaking without knowing the content of the agreement, just to make that clear. That's as I would expect. But we do now have news that suggests there will be an announcement, and we welcome that news. I very much welcome it, and I think it's very well done to those involved. And the reason for saying that is that it will help to reduce uncertainty, and that's important, as you will see in the context of what we've said today. The UK is, though, a very open economy. So the UK is also affected by the way in which trade policy and tariffs affect, obviously, other economies. That is, in other words, the tariff measures that have been taken in respect of other economies. So I say that because I hope the UK agreement, if it is indeed announced this afternoon, will be the first of many. This will be good news all round, including for the UK economy.
Hello and welcome to Global Business Insights, where we look closer at headlines, moving markets, to equip viewers with perspectives to help navigate the business environment. That was the Bank of England, Andrew Bailey, the governor, as was expected, announcing another 25 basis points interest rate cut to 4.25%. The governor said interest rates are not on autopilot, but acknowledged disinflation in domestic prices and wage pressure is continuing, still slowing inflation, which fell from 2.8% year-on-year in February to 2.6% in March, has allowed the bank to lower interest rates, though Bailey reiterated the need for caution, warning that the global economy remains unpredictable. Bailey welcomed the UK-US trade agreement, which was announced later in the day, adding that this helps to reduce uncertainty. The decision revealed a notable split, with 2 members favoring 50 basis points interest rate reduction, 2 members voting to keep rates unchanged. 5 members voted to cut rates by 25 basis points. The pound sterling rebounded strongly against its peers after the announcement. U.S. Department of Labor reported yesterday that U.S. citizens filing new applications for unemployment insurance dropped to 228,000 for the week ending May 3. This was below initial estimates and was lower than the previous week's unrevised tally of 241,000. U.S. stocks rose after Donald Trump announced the first major agreement with the UK. Trump, that's America's president, and Keir Starmer, Britain's prime minister, announced a trade deal which Trump claimed would raise $6 billion from a 10% tariff on many imports from Britain and expand export opportunities for American farmers, though the deal removes the 25% tariff on UK steel and aluminium and immediately cuts the rate on most car exports from 27.5% to 10%. A lower car rate applies to the first 100,000 vehicles exported from the UK to the US each year. 101,000 were exported last year. In return, the UK government removes the tariff on ethanol for US goods and agrees reciprocal market access on beef. No change to the UK's 2% digital services tax on US firms in this deal, despite reports that this would be addressed. The deal includes fast-tracking American goods through UK customs processes, and Howard Lutnick, America's Commerce Secretary, also boasted of a $10 billion order of Boeing aircraft by British Airline. The final details still being written up, and most agree that the deal is indeed sparse in coverage. Already reactions are mixed, with many saying the deal is not a trade deal. It's not 600 pages. It's perhaps faster to craft and maybe the model for future bilateral and more flexible and focused pacts, easier to agree and perhaps easier to break, and leaving out controversial themes as well. We could still have parliamentary and legal roadblocks despite the narrow scope, and it may still be months before a document that can be signed is ready. You could call the deal with the UK a quick win. It also sets the tone, but now the hard part, that is this weekend in Geneva as China comes to the table. Asia-Pacific markets were mixed as investors considered China's latest April trade data. Exports climbed 8.1% year-on-year in April, despite shipments to America down by 21% due to US tariffs. China exports to Southeast Asia up 21% and to the EU up 8%. Bitcoin prices also passed the $100,000 mark for the first time in 3 months yesterday, cementing revival of a risk-on attitude. That's all on this edition of Global Business Insights. Enjoy your weekend. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.
Welcome to the Business Day Future of Payment Conference 2025.
The Business Day Future of Payments Conference 2025 brought together fintech experts at the 4 Points by Sheraton in Lagos, Nigeria on the 30th of April. The conference themed Fintech Evolution, Contactless Payments, as the gateway to seamless transactions, had many stakeholders and professionals present during the occasion. The welcome address was delivered by Zebulon Agommo, BD Sunday editor, on behalf of the publisher Mr. Frank Aibogun.
Today's theme, FinTech Evolution. Contactless payments are the gateway to seamless transactions, speaks directly to the shift we are witnessing in the way people and businesses move money around. From the market stalls in Lagos to global e-commerce platforms, the demand for speed, safety, and simplicity is driving innovation like never before.
In the keynote address, Mr. Ugo Obasi, Executive Director at Afrigo, spoke on the history and evolution of contactless payments and its aim to strengthening the financial sector and economic growth.
Fraud has become a major concern globally. In our domestic market, lack of authentication for smaller transactions in contactless payments could raise additional concerns for users. So we hear stories of, when I tap my card on a machine, or somebody takes your card, or even you pass, and a reader or a device with a reader can take your money even in your pockets. So some of those things are myths that we have to address.
The Managing Director and CEO of Red Tech Limited, Mr. Emmanuel Ojo, gave a presentation on future of payments and the changing role of technology in driving innovation.
There are predictions that in the continent, by year 2030, the growth of young Africans would have increased by 42%. And predictions have it that by year 2100, the growth would have increased by 181%. The reality is that digital payments are mostly powered by younger folks, because younger folks are more inquisitive and they have the tendency to like to drive innovation. So we believe that in the continent will significantly benefit from the youths going forward.
The program moved to a panel discussion on the next evolution of digital payments and contactless payments, with opportunities for questions and answers from the fintech experts.
Nigeria is a very peculiar market. Our current demographics, about 18 to 45, about 70% of our population lie between the ages of 18 and 45 years. So what that means is you're going to see a significant adoption of new and emerging technologies in this market, perhaps even more than any other market you look at in the Africa region, right? Look at what's happening in crypto. Nigeria is the number 2 market globally, not in Africa, right? Globally, as it pertains with crypto adoption and utilizing it for payments, only second to India, more than other Western nations and all of that. And the same thing you get, even if it were to be with autonomous vehicles or self-driving vehicles, people will tell you the same thing, that are you sure we can trust it? But I disagree. I don't think that's the issue.
In 2023, CBN has issued the guidelines for contactless payments. In 2021, I think, or 2020, CBN also released a framework for QR code acceptance and payments. So what we need from a legal perspective, which we didn't used to have in relation to in the earlier days of fintech adoption and the uprise, we have that now for contactless. So I don't think that the issues, and if you listen to Mr. Ojo's presentation and Mr. Obasi, I don't really think the issues holding us back are legal or regulatory. I think the framework is there. It's for the market participants to now use them. I must appreciate the coordinator of today, Business Day. I salute them. It's obviously a recognizable brand in the media space. And also, I must also appreciate all of the participants, particularly the representative of the MD of the Nigerian Interbank Settlement System, the Mr. Premier Oiwo, represented by Ugo, the speaker before me, who was able to give us the journey so far in terms of digital payments and the evolution of the digital innovation products in Nigeria. I was able to also leverage some of the information shared in his presentation to also let us know that it's a gradual progress that we're going to realize in contactless payment. Based on the persona of consumers, essentially, they tend to react to change. This is expected. So it's going to be, the progress in contactless payment is going to be gradual. As I mentioned, it might be best to look for a niche in deploying contactless payments. And that niche essentially would ensure that maximum security experience, whereby even if your credentials has been compromised as a consumer or infringed upon, your funds can still be recovered. That will boost confidence before exposing contactless to other means whereby it is of a higher risk. That would be my personal advice to the industry.
A couple of things. First is we can no longer shy away from technology. It's a must. So what we need to do is to prepare, put our hearts in order, and be able to compete and ensure that technology is enhancing human behavior, is enhancing services, and of course, is improving our communication and engagement with business and the consumers of business. That's one. Two is that we have to realize that as a society, it as government or private sector, we need to look at how we can constantly improve the use of this technology. We can't shy away from it anymore. There's just no way we can run away. And so we have to embrace it, we have to prepare to adopt it, and we have to equip ourselves to be able to respond efficiently and effectively to the demands of technology. Those are the two things that I've taken away from here. And we are ready, the market is ready, the market is huge, and there are people here locally who are able to support the demands of this technology and the demands of service to ensure customers are receiving good experiences, and businesses are growing, and the economy is growing, and everybody is good for it.
So like I said before, collaboration, more user education is needed. More support is needed from an infrastructural point of view. And basically having events like this, basically is pushing more awareness out there of what we can do and of what is expected of us to do in the ecosystem.
There've been a lot I've learned, but my major takeaway is, I've been exposed to a lot of things regarding future of payments in Nigeria. Also apparently, building a business, a startup, and I've gotten an insight that can actually add on to my own startup that will actually help me thrive in my own industry.
The event ended on a high note with closing remarks from the Business Day Sunday editor Zebulon Agommo. Norma Obona, reporting for Business Day Television.
So this talent management conference is a strategic gathering of CEOs, HR professionals, policymakers, and wellness advocates who are committed in different ways to building a resilient, productive people, having a primary focus on ensuring the well-being of our people.
Business Day Media held its talent management conference on the 8th of April 2025. The conference brought together a spectacular corp of CEOs, top HR professionals, government policymakers, and wellness advocates committed to building resilient people-first organizations in Nigeria. The publisher of Business Day, Mr. Frank Ibogun, delivered a welcome address speaking to the theme of the occasion.
With 74% of Nigerian employees reportedly disengaged at work and productivity losses exceeding billions of dollars annually, the urgency to rethink talent management in our organizations has never been greater. This conference serves as a vital platform to explore how aligning employee well-being with organizational goals can unlock untapped profitability and, of course, long-term competitiveness. From practical wellness initiatives to engagement-driven leadership models, this event offers actionable insights to Nigerian businesses ready to future-proof their organization's workforce.
As the event proceeded, the keynote address was given by Professor Akin Abayomi, Honorable Commissioner of the Lagos State Ministry of Health, who made emphasis on employee well-being, health, among all the critical areas of well-being.
Your health as an employee, we have to make sure that you are a healthy person and that you're in a fit state to make the contribution for which you've been engaged to do. But at the same time, we don't want the workspace to contribute negatively to your health and well-being. And so the workspace is a complex environment from the moment you leave your home till the moment you get to your office, if you are doing a physical job or if you are in a virtual space, that connectivity is important. So we look at even issues around commuting, transportation. How do you get to work? When you get to work, what is the comfort level of your work environment? What is the government doing in terms of policy around occupational health? What is the government doing about recreational spaces around your work environment? Do you have to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning to get to work? And then you are dredging the fact that as you knock off, you're going to be spending another 2 or 3 hours commuting to get back home. So government's role is very holistic. Our job as government is to improve the livability of a system, of a city, to ensure that when you are in the space of a city, whether you're living with your family or you're working or you're commuting, that it is easy for you to be in that environment.
The conference featured informative panel sessions with an array of reputable speakers.
Wellness is encompassing. Wellness is very personal. I can't build a wellness initiative for you. You have to build it with me. And that's why we use what we call the EIP approach, employee involvement and participation. This comes with our 4 phases. And the first phase is we will have what we call the wellness risk assessment. I want to know what is about your health life, your financial disposition, what is your psychological state. And so we develop an evaluation tool that enables us to gather that data. Then we don't stop at that data, we probe further. So we come up with an holistic survey, and the survey covers the total well-being of our employees. And we ask simple questions like, do you have a best friend at work? Because it matters. The emotional state of an employee matters. The social strata of an employee matters. And that helps us to build the initiatives. So we just don't stop at building, then we measure. Just like Menga said, it's very important. We have what we call wellness goals. So you start with your individualized wellness goal, which will not put together.
I'll come to measurements.
To measurements. And so, so it's very important. And finally, wellness is beyond initiative. Wellness is a culture. So we weave it into our daily lives. We have things like you have daily stretches on your desk. We have Wednesday wellness tips that we tell you, communication about wellness. We let you know what is going on within the public space. So thank you to our Honorable Commissioner. It's nice having you here, sir. So as you push out this information, and I think more information needs to go out to HR people so they can get the people aware what's going on out there. Because everybody needs wellness education. And you need to know that wellness just is beyond health. It's also financial. So when Otame was talking about how is our paycheck, I can proudly say our paycheck is good because it's part of the strategy of the organization. Because if you don't have your people have that sense of wellness, sense of well-being, that platform to be the best of themselves, then how will you be productive?
So one of the things that I've found personally in relating with, I call them my colleagues. So
is I found that, every now and again, I just have non-work conversations. So, in fact, the very first time I did it, it came as like, it was like a shock. Everybody was like, what's going on? But I just had, because over time, maybe I've asked some information, your parents, your siblings, blah, blah, blah. So I just then ask personal, direct questions, how is your sister? I know she's in school. You guys lost your mom. How is she feeling? How is she handling? You are not in the country. And I'm just giving real life examples of some of the things that have happened and just having those conversations. And I could tell that, you could literally see some of their shoulders. It was like a weight just dropped because they're like, oh, wow. So somebody sees me aside from just having to fulfill a role. So that was one of the ways that, because I realized that, sometimes we could ask for feedback, but then this feedback comes and then it's like, it's just for information purposes, just to be able to say we gather data and nothing actually happens after that. So having those kind of conversations, non-work conversations, was one of the ways that I found was really engaging for the employees, because then after that, what they're then able to do is, if they're having challenges in work, if they're having challenges outside of work, it's easy for them to then come and say, this is what is going on, how can we help? What can we do? Or can I take this? Or can I do this? And so that conversation is then easier to have, because there's been, because I have then initiated conversations that have been non-work related.
The conference provided a vital platform to explore how aligning employees' mental, emotional, and physical well-being with organizational roles can unlock untapped profitability, productivity, long-term competitiveness in order to make the employees and Nigerian businesses stay connected and ready to future-proof their workforce. Some of the speakers and attendees present also shared key insights gained from the conference and thoughts on how to improve the well-being and engagement of the employees.
An enhanced leadership mindset really focused on driving the right level or an increasing level of employee engagement in order to boost profitability.
I learned a lot. And you're from Business Day, right?
Yes.
I hope you're going to keep doing this.
Okay.
Please do.
Okay. So
It was very, yes, it was very insightful. It was very insightful. I saw different angles to things that you can do. You need to see my phone. I'm very electronic. I don't carry the book. So my notes for today alone, I've taken down a lot of tips, things we can improve on, because nobody's perfect. So it was very insightful. I'm walking out of here with a lot of motivation. I have 5 people in my team. Everybody's busy. I had to pull someone out and say, please come here. You just come and listen to what is happening here. And she got here on time, and she's going to do a presentation to the wider team on Friday. And Friday is when we have our own departmental meeting. So it was very insightful. Thank you very much, Business Day. Please keep doing it.
Yeah, it's been an interesting conference. Had great panel speakers, really, really great panelists. We do a very fantastic job at Global Financials today, but what I've heard from a lot of other people shows that there's still some more great work we can do, right? In terms of engagement, in terms of aligning employee welfare with productivity and translating that into profitability, in terms of the keenness in which we engage staff and ensure that they are fully and consistently engaged, so that they can be productive, not out of force, right? But because it just flows naturally. In terms of creating enabling environments, I got a lot of insights, insights on being free to be, making it easy to be vulnerable, right, around people, so they don't think you're a superwoman, they can do everything, right? That was really, really, really interesting. That's a nice concept which I intend to employ going forward.
So I've been able to learn from other participants. So I've been able to learn how they are able to create different engagement activities to make the people's life meaningful at the workplaces. So it has actually been a very learning process for me. Aside being a panelist, I've also been able to learn from other people, how they are able to involve the employees in the workplace. And I've been able to write a whole lot and hoping to include that in my company where I work.
The major thing from all the panelists is very clear that employee well-being is at the forefront of every organization, and it goes way beyond the profitability. So organizations are now looking for ways that they can keep their employees engaged, so that they can be able to achieve the bottom line, which is profits, generate revenue and all of that. So I feel that from these discussions, you can tell that organizations are being intentional about coming up with different employee wellness strategy in terms of how they can keep their employees engaged, how they can reduce turnover, and how they can make their employees ambassadors of even their own organization.
In closing, the editor of Business Day, Tayo Fabwole, charged the audience to keep reflecting on the conversations from the conference, reiterating Business Day's commitment to keep reporting and championing these conversations. Norma Obona for Business Day Television.
Welcome to the Business Day Future of Payment Conference 2025.
The Business Day Future of Payments Conference 2025 brought together fintech experts at the 4 Points by Sheraton in Lagos, Nigeria on the 30th of April. The conference themed Fintech Evolution, Contactless Payments as the gateway to seamless transactions, had many stakeholders and professionals present during the occasion. The welcome address was delivered by Zebulon Agommo, BD Sunday editor, on behalf of the publisher Mr. Frank Aibogun.
Today's theme, Fintech Evolution, Contactless Payments are the gateway to seamless transactions, speaks directly to the shift we are witnessing in the way people and businesses move money around. From the market stores in Lagos to global e-commerce platforms, the demand for speed, safety, and simplicity is driving innovation like never before.
In the keynote address, Mr. Ugo Obasi, Executive Director at Afrigo, spoke on the history and evolution of contactless payments and its aim to strengthening the financial sector and economic growth.
Fraud has become a major concern globally. In our domestic market, lack of authentication for smaller transactions in contactless payments could raise additional concerns for users. So we hear stories of, when I tap my card on a machine, or somebody takes your card, or even you pass, and a reader or a device with a reader can take your money even in your pocket. So some of those things are myths that we have to address.
The Managing Director and CEO of RedTech Limited, Mr. Emmanuel Ojo, gave a presentation on future of payments and the changing role of technology in driving innovation.
There are predictions that in the continent, by year 2030, the growth of young Africans would have increased by 42%. And predictions have it that by year 2100, the growth would have increased by 181%. The reality is that digital payments are mostly powered by younger folks, because younger folks are more inquisitive and they have the tendency to like to drive innovation. So we believe that in the continent will significantly benefit from the youths going forward.
The program moved to a panel discussion on the next evolution of digital payments and contactless payments, with opportunities for questions and answers from the fintech experts.
Nigeria is a very peculiar market. Our current demographics, about 18 to 45, about 70% of our population lie between the ages of 18 and 45 years. So what that means is you're going to see a significant adoption of new and emerging technologies in this market, perhaps even more than any other market you look at in the Africa region, right? Look at what's happening in crypto. Nigeria is the number 2 market globally, not in Africa, right? Globally, as it pertains with crypto adoption and utilizing it for payments, only second to India, more than other Western nations and all of that. is and the same thing you get even if you try to be with autonomous vehicles or self-driving vehicles, people will tell you the same thing that are you sure we can trust it? But I disagree. I don't think that's the issue.
In 2023, CBN has issued the guidelines for contactless payments. In 2021, I think, or 2020, CBN also released a framework for QR code acceptance and payments. So what we need from a legal perspective, which we didn't used to have in relation to all in the earlier days of fintech adoption and the uprise, we have that now for contactless. So I don't think that the issues, and if you listen to Mr. Ojo's presentation and Mr. Obasi, I don't really think the issues holding us back are legal or regulatory. I think the framework is there. It's for the market participants to now use them.
I must appreciate the coordinator of today, Business Day. I salute them. It's obviously a recognizable brand in the media space. And also, I must also appreciate all of the participants, particularly the representative of the MD of the Nigerian Interbank Settlement System, the Mr. Premier Oiwo, represented by Ugo, the speaker before me, who was able to give us the journey so far in terms of digital payments and the evolution of the digital innovation products in Nigeria. I was able to also leverage some of the information shared in his presentation to also let us know that it's a gradual progress that we're going to realize in contactless payment. Based on the persona of consumers, essentially, they tend to react to change. This is expected. So it's going to be, the progress in contactless payment is going to be gradual. As I mentioned, it might be best to look for a niche in deploying contactless payments. And that niche essentially would ensure that maximum security experience, whereby even if your credentials has been compromised as a consumer or infringed upon, your funds can still be recovered. That will boost confidence before exposing contactless to other means whereby it is of a higher risk. That would be my personal advice to the industry.
A couple of things. First is we can no longer shy away from technology. It's a must. So what we need to do is to prepare, put our hearts in order, and be able to compete and ensure that technology is enhancing human behavior, is enhancing services, and of course, is improving our communication and engagement with business and the consumers of business. That's one. Two is that we have to realize that as a society, it as government or private sector, we need to look at how we can constantly improve the use of this technology. We can't shy away from it anymore. There's just no way we can run away. And so we have to embrace it, we have to prepare to adopt it, and we have to equip ourselves to be able to respond efficiently and effectively to the demands of technology. Those are the two things that I've taken away from here. And we are ready, the market is ready, the market is huge, and there are people here locally who are able to support the demands of this technology and the demands of service to ensure customers are receiving good experiences and businesses are growing and the economy is growing and everybody is good for it.
So like I said before, collaboration, more user education is needed. More support is needed from an infrastructural point of view. And basically having events like this, basically is pushing more awareness out there of what we can do and of what's expected of us to do in the ecosystem.
There've been a lot I've learned, but my major takeaway is, I've been exposed to a lot of things regarding future of payments in Nigeria. Also I'm currently, building a business, a startup. And I've gotten an insight that can actually add on to my own startup that will actually help me thrive in my own industry.
The event ended on a high note with closing remarks from the Business Day Sunday editor Zebulon Agommo. Norma Obona, reporting for Business Day Television.
Okay, good morning and welcome to the morning market brief today, Thursday, May 8th. We're going straight into the market headlines. The NGX continued this bullish run yesterday. This week we've seen the NGX advance by more than 3%. The NGX had a 0.
This is the Business Day television broadcast. You are watching Business Day television.
I am, of course, a great admirer of the impeccable credibility, professionalism, and business savviness of Business Day. If you really mean business in Nigeria, start your day with Business Day.
Business Day is West Africa's leading provider of business intelligence and information, delivering premium content across diversified media platforms, including online, mobile, and print. Since its inception in 2001 with a weekly newspaper production, Business Day has expanded its reach to provide exclusive content accessible through print, mobile, and online channels. Our premium offerings are further enriched with syndicated content from esteemed sources like the Financial Times, The Economist, and the Harvard Business Review. At Business Day, our mission is clear: to be the foremost provider of business and financial content, empowering readers to make informed decisions in Nigeria and Africa. Since our establishment, we have been committed to delivering insightful, relevant, and accurate information about Nigeria's business and finance environment, while contextualizing the impact of global events. We monitor the stock market, analyze the companies driving it, and report on government policies and their economic implications.
For being consistent in organizing these CEO forums for almost the last 14 years, I think this was a commendation, and I think something that will encourage them to continue.
From decoding market trends to dissecting economic shifts, we offer actionable investment ideas and serve as a compass for decision makers navigating complexity. Beyond headlines, Business Day fosters discussions on critical economic issues through impactful conferences and events. These platforms bring industry leaders together to share narratives that drive innovation and spark meaningful dialogues. Our events galvanize connections, bridging the gap between inspiration and achievement. For businesses seeking visibility, our strong digital presence offers unparalleled opportunities, with millions of followers across social media and a dynamic website attracting visitors from within and outside Nigeria. Business Day is the ideal platform to boost visibility for your products and services. If you're looking for in-depth analysis and expert opinions on Nigeria and Africa's business landscape, Business Day is your guide.
I am, of course, a great admirer of the impeccable credibility, professionalism, and business savviness of Business Day. If you really mean business in Nigeria, start your day with Business Day.
Business Day is West Africa's leading provider of business intelligence and information, delivering premium content across diversified media platforms, including online, mobile, and print. Since its inception in 2001 with a weekly newspaper production, Business Day has expanded its reach to provide exclusive content accessible through print, mobile, and online channels. Our premium offerings are further enriched with syndicated content from esteemed sources like the Financial Times, The Economist, and the Harvard Business Review. At Business Day, our mission is clear: to be the foremost provider of business and financial content, empowering readers to make informed decisions in Nigeria and Africa. Since our establishment, we have been committed to delivering insightful, relevant, and accurate information about Nigeria's business and finance environment, while contextualizing the impact of global events. We monitor the stock market, analyze the companies driving it, and report on government policies and their economic implications.
For being consistent in organizing these CEO forums for almost the last 14 years, I think this was a commendation, and I think something that will encourage them to continue.
From decoding market trends to dissecting economic shifts, we offer actionable investment ideas and serve as a compass for decision makers navigating complexity. Beyond headlines, Business Day fosters discussions on critical economic issues through impactful conferences and events. These platforms bring industry leaders together to share narratives that drive innovation and spark meaningful dialogues. Our events galvanize connections, bridging the gap between inspiration and achievement. For businesses seeking visibility, our strong digital presence offers unparalleled opportunities, with millions of followers across social media and a dynamic website attracting visitors from within and outside Nigeria. Business Day is the ideal platform to boost visibility for your products and services. If you're looking for in-depth analysis and expert opinions on Nigeria and Africa's business landscape, Business Day is your guide.
I am, of course, a great admirer of the impeccable credibility, professionalism, and business savviness of Business Day. If you really mean business in Nigeria, start your day with Business Day.
Business Day is West Africa's leading provider of business intelligence and information, delivering premium content across diversified media platforms, including online, mobile, and print. Since its inception in 2001 with a weekly newspaper production, Business Day has expanded its reach to provide exclusive content accessible through print, mobile, and online channels. Our premium offerings are further enriched with syndicated content from esteemed sources like the Financial Times, The Economist, and the Harvard Business Review. At Business Day, our mission is clear: to be the foremost provider of business and financial content, empowering readers to make informed decisions in Nigeria and Africa. Since our establishment, we have been committed to delivering insightful, relevant, and accurate information about Nigeria's business and finance environment, while contextualizing the impact of global events. We monitor the stock market, analyze the companies driving it, and report on government policies and their economic implications.
For being consistent in organizing these CEO forums for almost the last 14 years, I think this was a commendation, and I think something that will encourage them to continue.
From decoding market trends to dissecting economic shifts, we offer actionable investment ideas and serve as a compass for decision makers navigating complexity. Beyond headlines, Business Day fosters discussions on critical economic issues through impactful conferences and events. These platforms bring industry leaders together to share narratives that drive innovation and spark meaningful dialogues. Our events galvanize connections, bridging the gap between inspiration and achievement. For businesses seeking visibility, our strong digital presence offers unparalleled opportunities. With millions of followers across social media and a dynamic website attracting visitors from within and outside Nigeria, Business Day is the ideal platform to boost visibility for your products and services. If you're looking for in-depth analysis and expert opinions on Nigeria and Africa's business landscape, Business Day is your guide.
I am, of course, a great admirer of the impeccable credibility, professionalism, and business savviness of Business Day. If you really mean business in Nigeria, start your day with Business Day.
Business Day is West Africa's leading provider of business intelligence and information, delivering premium content across diversified media platforms, including online, mobile, and print. Since its inception in 2001 with a weekly newspaper production, Business Day has expanded its reach to provide exclusive content accessible through print, mobile, and online channels. Our premium offerings are further enriched with syndicated content from esteemed sources like the Financial Times, The Economist, and the Harvard Business Review. At Business Day, our mission is clear: to be the foremost provider of business and financial content, empowering readers to make informed decisions in Nigeria and Africa. Since our establishment, we have been committed to delivering insightful, relevant, and accurate information about Nigeria's business and finance environment, while contextualizing the impact of global events. We monitor the stock market, analyze the companies driving it, and report on government policies and their economic implications.
For being consistent in organizing these CEO forums for almost the last 14 years, I think this was a commendation, and I think something that will encourage them to continue.
From decoding market trends to dissecting economic shifts, we offer actionable investment ideas and serve as a compass for decision makers navigating complexity. Beyond headlines, Business Day fosters discussions on critical economic issues through impactful conferences and events. These platforms bring industry leaders together to share narratives that drive innovation and spark meaningful dialogues. Our events galvanize connections, bridging the gap between inspiration and achievement. For businesses seeking visibility, our strong digital presence offers unparalleled opportunities. With millions of followers across social media and a dynamic website attracting visitors from within and outside Nigeria, Business Day is the ideal platform to boost visibility for your products and services. If you're looking for in-depth analysis and expert opinions on Nigeria and Africa's business landscape, Business Day is your guide.
Good morning and welcome to the Bdtv Breakfast Show. I am Bethel Ogunjobi.
My name is Elizabeth Musa.
And this is the social listening segment on the Bdtv Breakfast Show.
We're talking about the Fly Nigeria Act. Can you give us a background into what this is about?
We are here today on the streets of Lagos, Nigeria, to gather opinion about a pressing issue.
I go look at the cost of petrol. We get very Nigeria with the suffer.
The income is not really increasing, but the prices of items are increased.
Nothing like service again, no. You only pray for that money to reach you that month.
There's a lot of high pressure, a lot of stress. There's a lot of high targets to be met.
I was quite strict. In my mind, I said, moving from my hand, my picking will spoil.
To allow all banks and all the players in the space.
15% inflation target achievable in 2025.
The command and vision philosophy of both the Chief of Defense Staff, the Chief of Army Staff, and indeed all the service chiefs.
You are watching Business Day Television.
Good morning and welcome to the Bdtv Breakfast Show. I am Bethel Ogunjobi.
My name is Elizabeth Musa.
And this is the social listening segment on the Bdtv Breakfast Show.
We're talking about the Fly Nigeria Act. Can you give us a background into what this is about?
We are here today on the streets of Lagos, Nigeria, to gather opinion about a pressing issue.
I go look at the cost of petrol. We get very Nigeria with the suffer.
The income is not really increasing, but the prices of items are increased.
Nothing like service again, no. You only pray for that money to reach you that month.
There's a lot of high pressure, a lot of stress. There's a lot of high targets to be met.
I was quite strict. In my mind, I said, moving from my hand, my picking will spoil.
To allow all banks and all the players in the space.
15% inflation target achievable in 2025.
You are watching Business Day Television.
Good afternoon and welcome to the Bdtv News at noon. My name is Elizabeth Musa. Let's see what's making the headlines this afternoon. E-Transact CWG Chams profits surge on growing IT demand. Nigeria taps additional $215 million World Bank loan for palliatives. Internal crisis threaten Labour Party future ahead of 2027. American Robert Francis emerges as new pope. Beckham and Neville complete Salford City takeover. Let's begin the news in Nigeria, where E-Transact, CWG, Chams, and 3 listed Nigerian tech firms have recorded almost triple after-tax profit in Q1 2025. The latest financial statements of Chams PLC, Computer Warehouse Group, and E-Transact International PLC reveal that their combined after-tax profit rose to 2.46 billion naira from 990 million naira in the same period of 2024 as a result of growing IT demands in the continent. According to reports, there's been a spike in technology consumption across West Africa over the past year, a situation that has boosted revenue of the 3 firms by 36%, growing to 25.72 billion naira from 18.9 billion during the period. While moving on, the World Bank has disbursed additional funds to Nigeria under the $800 million National Social Safety Net program scale-up, raising the total amount released to $530 million. The World Bank's official website revealed that the cumulative disbursement had increased from the earlier reported $315 million in 2023 to $530 million this year, reflecting fresh inflows into Nigeria's accounts for the palliative program. Although the exact day of the disbursement was not verified, findings showed that the World Bank was yet to update the detailed section of its portal that typically records transaction dates as of April 30, 2025. Now to end the local news, members of the Labour Party are worried about the future of the party as internal crises continue to escalate. The assistant news editor at Business Day, Anthony Ailemen, during his appearance on Business Day television, says ignorance of leadership procedures has led to messy power struggles in the party. With this development, many loyal members feel stuck in the middle and unsure of where the party is headed. And on the foreign scene, Robert Francis Prevost became the first pope from the United States on Thursday, picking the papal name Leo XIV after cardinals from around the world elected him as leader of the world's 1.4 billion Catholics. Tens of thousands of people packed in St. Peter's Square cheered as Prevost appeared on the balcony of St. Peter's Basilica, waving with both hands, smiling and bowing. White smoke from the Sistine Chapel had billowed into the sky on the cardinal's second day of voting to announce his election in a secret conclave, while the bells of St. Peter's Basilica and churches across Rome rang out. Now to end the news, David Beckham and Gary Neville have completed a takeover of Salford City as part of a new consortium buying out the rest of the class of '92. Their former Manchester United teammates Nicky Butt, Ryan Giggs, Paul Scholes and Phil Neville are no longer shareholders as part of the new ownership group, including former banker Lord Mervyn Davies and businessman Declan Kelly. According to reports, the quartet will remain involved with the club in roles across technical, football, commercial, recruitment and the SCFC Foundation. After the class of '92's arrival at the club in 2014, Salford won 4 promotions in 5 seasons to reach the English Football League in 2019, but have remained in Leagues 2 over time. Well, that does it this afternoon on the Bdtv News at noon. My name is Elizabeth Musa. Keep watching Bdtv.